everybody. How's everybody doing? Hey, Krista, sweetie, how you doing? We are going to talk about Jack and Lilly. Wow, you got a notification. Good job, man. Gotta love YouTube. One of you out of the 5,400 of you got a notification. That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, gotta love that. Gotta love that. So, we're going to talk today about a couple of other missing kids, well, unsolved cases rather. Not just Jack and Lilly, and in Nova Scotia particularly. And we're going to look at it not just from a failure perspective. We're going to look at it because they have solved crimes in the past. Hello, Helen, beautiful. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Anne. I did right after I checked your channel. What do you mean, sweetie? So yeah, yours truly hasn't been feeling well, and I'm writing my book, so I'm in that rabbit hole. So I'm sorry I haven't been here for a few days, but I'm going to be doing today's live. We might do a live tomorrow morning if you guys are interested. There's really not a lot of updates on Jack and Lilly, and people are talking about whatever just to get people out there watching because it's a popular case. You did right after. Okay, thank you, honey. And then and I do want to go back to the very beginning and listen to all the information that came out and all the interviews for Jack and Lilly as well as Sebastian. But until I get my book launched next week, I'm going to probably do today's live. There's some updates on Anna Kepner, and I know you guys don't want to hear Rebecca Park. There's also an interesting video on Gus Lamont. So I'm going to do those probably tomorrow morning and then move to tarot readings until I can get this book launched next week. So that's the plan. And then after the book's launched, I'm going to go back and do the coverage from the beginning. Sebastian Rogers, I'll do 2 lives a day. Sebastian Rogers and Jack and Lilly. So that's the plan. How is everybody doing? But let's look at this, okay? Let's look at this because I want you to look at other missing kids cases. So in Nova Scotia, we have really and truly, if I type in Nova Scotia, I'm going to show you here. Sounds good, sweetie? Okay, thank you. If I type in Nova Scotia's unsolved missing cases, okay, in Nova Scotia, truly, there's only 2. Truly, there's only 2. There's Jack and Lilly and Dylan Eller. That's it. So yes, I myself probably have been the most critical of any of the true crime, of the RCMP, I should say, of anybody out here covering true crime. I've probably been the most critical because of the experience that I had with that one officer. But to be fair to them, in all honesty, there's only 2 missing persons cases in Nova Scotia that have remained unsolved. Jack and Lilly and Dylan Eller. Now, there's 2 other cases that justice wasn't served for them. Those that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the systemic failures. It's not just the RCMP in this case with Jack and Lilly or with Dylan. It's a systemic issue. And so that's more of the focus today, okay? We have, if we want to look at it, we're going to talk about Troy Cook. Let's talk about Troy Cook. Well, there you go. The link didn't work. Let's look at Troy Cook. Troy Cook missing. How not solved. Nova Scotia. Okay. He was also, by the way, from Truro. Okay. Also from Truro. So, okay, no worries, Krista. Thank you, honey. Thank you. Okay, no worries, sweetie. So Troy Crook was also from Truro. So I find that aspect interesting. So he was born missing persons, Troy Cook, December, date of birth 1978, July 16th. The government of the government of the province of Nova Scotia is offering rewards up to $150,000, the same amount, for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the persons responsible for the disappearance of Troy Cook. Troy has been missing since June 12th, 1998. At approximately 10 a.m. on June 11th, 1998, Mr. Cook was dropped off near his apartment at 1 Victoria Street, Truro, Nova Scotia, by his father. At 10:30 a.m., Mrs. Sharon Tucker, an employee at the Atlantic Superstore, received a call from a person claiming to be Troy Crook. Why do I say Crook? Mrs. Tucker is certain that the caller was Mr. Cook, but recalled that he sounded different. Mr. Cook advised her that he would not be in to work for his evening shift. Mr. Cook has not been heard from since his disappearance, and there have been no confirmed sightings. Mr. Cook had not mentioned leaving town. His wallet and ID were located in his apartment, and there have been no transactions on his bank account. It also has been established that Mr. Cook has no history of compulsive behavior or mental illness. Any person information regarding the persons responsible for the disappearance of Troy Cook should call the Rewards for Major Unsolved Crimes program at 1-888-710-9090. The reward is payable in Canadian funds and will be apportioned as deemed just by the Minister of Justice for the province of Nova Scotia. Employees of law enforcement and correctional agencies are not eligible to collect this reward. Let's get some more. Yeah, let's get some more on the disappearance of Troy Cook. Missing Kids Data Bank in Canada. So the thing I want to talk about today too is when kids go missing and the time frame that leads to a successful um you know a successful recovery. Now, you'll notice here, I'm just noticing that I'm on Missing Kids Canada website, and there's no, hey Donna sweetie, sorry, I was debating today what to do because I just don't feel like writing, so I fought with myself. And then I talked to my daughter, the nurse, for a while, which is so exciting for me because she's like, Mom, do my astrology. Mom, do my astrology. She's like a nurse and she's starting to really get into astrology and stuff. So it was like fun this morning. So we did that. Anyway, so this is Troy Cook. Um, and if you look up at the missing persons database, what I find super interesting is missing children in Nova Scotia, and there's no Jack and Lilly here. What is with that? Why are Jack and Lilly not here? Why are Jack and Lilly? This is not what I was intending to discuss, but now that I'm here, I'm looking for a list of last names. Let's see if it's most recent, if they come up. Most recent from Nova Scotia. They don't come up. How is it that Jack and Lilly are not on the Missing Kids Canada website? What the dang? What the dang? Why are they not on the Missing Kids website? Hey, Lori. I'm sorry. I'm dumbfounded. We were sitting here talking about Troy Cook, and you noticed that too. Like, why? Thank you, honey. Why? That is the strangest thing. Let's look at Troy's Missing Kids alert profile. Can y'all see that? No. It is odd. Why? That is just odd. So here's Troy's missing profile, updated August 20th, 24. Troy Crook was last seen in Truro, Nova Scotia by his father on June 12th, 1998. It's believed that Troy made a phone call from a payphone near Tim Hortons in Bible Hill. I mean, Bible Hill is a repeated, it comes up in all these cases. All these cases. Bible Hill. Missing since June 12th, 1998. His date of birth is July 19th, 1978. So he was 19. Let's see what he would look like now. Let's see if chat can do what would Troy Cook look like now? Let's see. Okay, so we already know that if kids are not found right away, there's just not a good chance that they're going to be found. And this case is an example, of how many years later. Looking up the search for Troy Cook. It's just I'm asking. Okay, so I'm asking if it could do a facial update. Yes, I can. Below is a focused evidence-based profile and practical analysis of what Troy Cook, missing from Truro, Nova Scotia, would likely look like today, where he might be, and an investigative reporting steps. I cite the key public facts used to ground this analysis. Troy was last seen here. Let me share this with you. That would be better. Troy Kirk was last seen in Truro, Nova Scotia on June 12th, 1998. He was 19 at the time. His date of birth, again, so he'd be 47 years old in December 2025. He was believed to have made a phone call from a payphone near the Tim Hortons in Bible Hill on or about the day he went missing. The province of Nova Scotia has offered a reward for up to 150,000. Age, progressed, physical description, what Troy Cook would likely look like today. These are evidence-based inferences built from his date of birth, original appearance photos, and typical adult aging patterns. Current age and general time frame, 47 years old. Original records list him as 5'6" and 120 pounds at age 19. As an adult, he may have gained weight to a medium slender build. Typical adult range, 5'6", 5'9", and 140 to 190 pounds, depending on lifestyle. Facial structure, has an oval face with full lips and defined cheekbones. In available youth photos, these structural features would remain. Cheekbones and lip shape tend to persist with age. Expect some softening of the jawline and cheeks. Skin complexion listed as indigenous. Wow, I didn't know he was indigenous. Okay, this is getting weird. I don't think we did see Dylan Eller come up as possibly indigenous, but I didn't get a chance to confirm that with Jason. Did Dylan, I'm just going to type that in, Eller have indigenous background? Because this is weird. No information that he was indigenous. Okay, because now, strange how someone, his work, I don't know what that is, found his work. What do you mean, honey? I don't know what that means. Okay, let's go back to Troy. Let's go back to Troy. So we've got indigenous, which is interesting. There may be some sun-related changes, freckles line, depending on the outdoor exposure or age mottling, particularly around eyes and forehead. Hair, originally black by late 40s, hair commonly shows gray, white, starting at the temples and the crown. He may have retain mostly dark hair with some gray, or he may have more advanced graying depending on genetics. His hair length and style could vary. Short crop, slightly longer, or a cap hat. Facial hair could have a subtle trim beard or clean shaven. Yeah. What many men in this age bracket wear some facial hair, eyes brown, unchanged, glasses, possibly age-related visions, scars, no publicly published detailed distinguished marks. Okay, let's just get to the picture. There's like all kinds of notes here, but there's no picture. Yes, I asked for a picture. Gotta love chat. Gotta love chat. It always finds a way to waste your time. It's like everything in this world is all based on you get free asked questions and then you got to start paying for them. So I meant font. I meant I don't know. I still don't know what FO. I don't know what that word is. I think you're missing a letter. Okay, so I'm waiting for the age progression image of Troy Cook to show up. And I want to see how someone phoned. Yeah. Well, the woman, like the woman that, okay, here we are. I wouldn't have guessed it. I would not have guessed this at all. Look at this. But yeah. Yeah, but the woman that he worked for thought it sounded like him. Thought it sounded like him. So could it have been him? Whoops, I just want to no, I want to get the opposite. I want that bigger. Yeah. So this was what he would look like. Very interesting. Very interesting. That's what he would look like. And why, like, I don't know. Where did this case go wrong? Where did the case go wrong? Okay, so I want to know where this case went wrong. Below is a clear, factual, and analytical assessment of where the investigation of Detroit Cooks. I keep saying crook. Why do I want to say crook? Like he's not a crook, but I keep saying it. Have you put the age pick into net? No, no, I haven't. But what I want to do here is I want to see if there's a pattern for unsolved cases. Like, did they F this up at the beginning? Because it seems to me that's the logical. We hear that over and over again, that if they F cases up in the beginning, they're not likely to get solved, right? So I'm just curious if that's the case here. So I'm just going to read how they effed up on this case because there's another one we're going to look at that didn't get justice in Nova Scotia. And there's clear indications of the system breaking down. So, and in that conclusion, then what does that take mean for Jack and Lilly? Where does that take us for Jack and Lilly? Because it's been 6 months. And I think like in Dylan's case, in Jack and Lily's case, in Sebastian Rogers' case, in like all these missing kids cases, if they are not found imminently at the beginning, the chances of it getting solved later are not good. And I'm just sitting here wondering today, are Jack and Lilly ever going to be found? And I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. I just don't think it looks good at this point. I don't think it looks like we're going to get justice for Jack and Lilly at this point. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I think there were so many mistakes made at the beginning that I'm not sure it's going to be possible anymore. I don't know. That's what we're here to discuss. So, in Troy Cook's case, I asked, where did this case go wrong by investigators? Below is a clear, factual, and analytical assessment of into Troy Cook's 1998 disappearance in Truro, Nova Scotia, where it most likely went wrong. This is based on publicly known facts, cold case investigation standards, comparable Canadian cases, and patterns that occur when a missing person case stagnates early. Because this case is more than 25 years old, there are 4 major failure points that stand out with high probability. No immediate preservation of the last known location. Troy was last believed to have made a phone call from a payphone near the Tim Hortons in Bible Hill. Common investigative standards require securing and documenting the payphone area, fingerprinting the phone and nearby surfaces, canvassing witnesses the same day, pulling any available business surveillance, identifying who called and why, tracking his movements within the Tim Hortons or surrounding area. There is no public record indicating that the payphone was processed for prints. CCTV footage, if available, was pulled, so there's no indication that they pulled CCTV footage if it was available. There is no record indicating that any employees or patrons were canvassed immediately, and there was no public record indicating any potential witnesses were documented at the time. In 1998, this type of investigative negligence was unfortunately common, especially for young Indigenous men. Wow. Wow. Yeah. This is wild. This is wild. And so the markers, I'm going to keep reading. It seems to me the markers were there earlier on, right? The markers were there that this epic failure happened at the very onset of this crime. Very onset. So number 2's point is a bias. Here we go. We see this a lot in missing kids, with especially teenagers. A bias assuming voluntarily disappearance. Okay, here we go again. There's a bias that Jack and Lilly just walked out the back door. There's a bias. Kind of tells us everything. Yeah, kind of tells you everything. That's why I wanted to go in this direction, okay? It's not like every child that's gone missing in Nova Scotia has not been solved. But the ones that don't get resolved, there's clear indicators at the beginning of how the case was followed and how the system, the systemic issues failed these children. We're seeing it right here in front of us. We've seen it in Jack and Lilly. We've heard it in Dylan Eller's case. So while I hate to be the bearer of bad news, I just feel like this is likely the path we're going down with Jack and Lilly. If we don't get answers and if we don't see arrests coming very, very soon, I'm afraid this is what's going to be the case here. That's my fear. And it boils my blood. It just boils my blood. It boils my blood. The other thing I want to talk about, okay, let's just finish this. I want to talk this about Jack and Lilly. Actually, I'm going to say now so I don't forget. It's not that I'm trying to be a bitch or anything. I don't know Belinda, and we're going to talk about that in a second, because Belinda on our last stream actually commented and clarified a few things, which is very appreciated on the Brad Wong's blanket. So I'm going to go through those in a second. But somebody commented, and it's true, and it's like, I don't disrespect Sunny. I truly don't. I think she's done a great work on It's a Crime and Shame. But what I don't understand is how everybody is just taking everybody's opinion of everything as if it's factual. Like Brad Wong saying that those were his belongings at the fire pit. How do we know that's true? Like, who are we as a collective where we are just assuming everybody's being truthful? Who are we as a collective when we assume that the RCMP I was going to email her and apologize for our little antics, and I just thought, you know what? I don't think she's even open to it. I'm not going to bother. But I just did not like as she came onto my stream, didn't even know what we were talking about, and personally attacked me. And yes, I did lose my shit, but it's like, I would never go into someone else's live stream as a creator and criticize their stream. That is just so fucking uncouth. It's not even funny. And then when I invited her up to talk to clarify, she wouldn't. So I just think it's so wrong on so many levels. I would never do that to another creator, especially when the entire title of the chat was, "Do we believe the narrative here?" Which is what I'm talking about right now. Like, I'm kind of glad Jason didn't come up on my panel if you want to know the truth, because I've said that all along. I think that leaves us less objective. When we become emotionally attached to the players in these cases, we lose our objectivity. We lose our objectivity. Think they made a narrative in the beginning and they don't look at each other's motive or ideas. Yeah, there's a tunnel vision. But somebody commented, when we get to Jack and Lilly here, I just want to talk about these two cases and how what that means for Dellen Eller, and Jack and Lilly. Like, I just don't think these cases are ever going to get solved at this point. And it's sad. And I hope I'm wrong with Jack and Lilly. But I think these indicators, when they're messed up at the very beginning and they followed a narrative at the beginning where we believe the parents, like, I just blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. Um, when the parents are most likely the culprits. And yes, I understand murdering, unaliving, kidnapping your own kids is not that common, but if it ever is to happen, those are the people that are most likely involved, based statistically, just statistically. So how they went from this narrative to they just walked at the back door with zero evidence from the get-go is mind-blowing. And it's following the wrong path at the beginning, it seems to me, is the answer we're getting here, just in our quick analysis. But let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. There's 8 points here. We've only talked about the 2. The bias, assuming volunteered assistance. I haven't even finished reading it because this one just pisses me right off, because we see it in Jack and Lilly. We saw it in Dylan. And I mean, in Dylan, like, Jason says he's 3 hours after his child goes missing and he drives up to Dorothy's house and there's one effing cop there. 3 hours later, there's one freaking cop there. Do you think you might have fucking lost your chance to find him? I'd say so. I mean, I'd say so. And why did wait so long to talk? They didn't, Laurie. That's a misconception. They didn't. We've talked about this on this channel before. They did not wait long. In fact, they gave their statements in May. In May. So very early on, one of them. So no, they did not wait to give their statements. We just didn't hear about it right away. Yes, yes. Exactly. Is it laziness? Is it lack of experience? Is it just tunnel vision arrogance? I don't know, but it's really annoying. So nearly every long-term Canadian missing persons case involving Indigenous men shows this early error. Wow, this will blow your mind. It appears Troy's disappearance was initially treated as low priority, i.e., he'll come back, he probably left on his own, he's an adult, he can choose to disappear. This assumption delays the investigative clock during the most important 48 hours. Even the family has stated over the years that they felt the case was not taken as seriously as it should have been early on. Yeah, no kidding. Likely impact: search areas were not secured, leads were not followed when fresh, and public alerts were just delayed. The lack of early media engagement and public awareness in this case. In Troy's case, it did not receive the media urgency that other missing young men in Nova Scotia did. Indicators of media failure: very few early news articles, no widespread appeal or detailed public description, no early release photos or exact clothing worn, no witness appeals broadcasted regionally in the first month. Today, when you compare Troy's case to other missing cases from the same era, the media footprint is significantly smaller, meaning fewer leads, fewer tips, and fewer eyes across the province. So here, take that. Take that as empowerment as to what we're doing here in the true crime community. We are keeping the stories alive when the media won't. Okay? And even in chat's own analysis, that is important and was damaging, the fact that there was no media attention. Now, true crime wasn't what it is today, but a lack of media engagement is to be blamed for the lack of outcome from Troy's investigation. In fact, it doesn't sound like much of an investigation was actually even done. Underutilization of the rewards programs, public posters, and reinvestigations. The $150,000 Nova Scotia rewards for a major unsolved case program is typically activated early for suspicious disappearances. So here we go again. We have a conflicting narrative. Nothing to see here, walk down at his own, but here's a reward, as if the reward is going to make up for their lack of investigation. That's what it feels like. Are you guys getting that sense right now? Because that's what I'm kind of picking up. Like, we don't have a clue what's happened. And don't forget, y'all, don't forget, when the officer called me, I'm not going to tell you who, Chad or the other officer, I'm not going to tell you which one. Okay, my dad just came in. I just felt his spirit. And it's cold wave come in. Okay, hey, puppy. Like, he's right here by my hand. When the policeman called me in Jack and Lily's case, okay? I'm going to repeat this because I don't think I've said it enough. I'm not telling you which one it was because I don't want this officer harassed. But when I had a conversation, he said, "We have no clue." That was a month ago. We have no clue. That was a month ago. Yeah, exactly. That the other guy that told the police, then Wong spoke to the police, but he already spoke to the yes, exactly. Yes, that's exactly right, Lori. Yes. So Wong I've also had visions of, right? So yeah. So I have said this very much in passing, Donna, but I haven't said it as explicitly as this. But yes, one of the officers was not Mike Wilson. Okay. But I've spoken to 3 officers in that true crimes unit. And one of them said, "We have no clue." Okay. A month ago. So, and I responded, "Then maybe you might look at a different theory." You know? Maybe you might look at a different theory. Just a thought. Just a fucking thought, you know? You've gone down one fucking road, you've stuck to one fucking road, and it's led you fucking nowhere. So maybe, just a brilliant aha thought, maybe try another narrative. Try another theory. Sorry, I'm not saying they're not doing that. I just was disappointed and shocked to hear that come out of one of their mouths. I was disappointed and shocked to hear that come out of one of their mouths to me on the phone. So you've got this underutilization of the rewards program. The $150,000 Nova Scotia rewards for major unsolved cases is typically activated early for suspicious disappearance. Well, okay. Jack and Lilly also have a reward that also is very inconsistent with the narrative. They walked out the back door, or in this Troy Cook's case, he just left on his own accord because he was 19. That's likely the real reason. The kid's 19, he's an adult. I say kid because to me, young 19-year-olds are still children, very not, while they are adults, they're not fully grown adults and cannot necessarily always think clearly. So we've got no clear timeline reconstruction shared publicly. Most successful cold case resolutions come from clearly published. Listen to this. No clear timeline reconstruction shared publicly. Most successful cold case resolutions come from clearly published last known movements, last people to see him, exact clothing, who he phoned, financial activity, transportation records, known risks or conflicts, social connections at the time, and for Troy, almost none of this was public. Okay, let's go back to Jack and Lilly. Did they establish a clear timeline? Last known movements. Well, do we really know that night? That night, we know what they did until they got home, and then it kind of gets really sketchy. Last people to see them, Well, we know that. Except we've got the coworker who can't necessarily identify. Now, let's just ask you this. Is the coworker Jordan Geddes? Is that the coworker who saw them in the car and could not be certain that it was the kids in the back seat? So we've got last people to see him. That's them, a little bit in debate, but for the most part, exact clothing. Exact clothing worn is important in solving a missing persons cases. And we have a very vague, what were the kids wearing? Where who they phoned? Well, they didn't have phone and they didn't have financial records nor transportation records. There were known risks and conflicts to those kids and their social connections at the time, the family members. So for Troy, almost none of this is public. What this usually indicates is that the original investigators either did not build a detailed timeline or they built one but never used it for public engagement, or they lacked actionable leads and never reconstructed it properly. So tips that could match or contradict the timeline never emerged. Wow. Tips that could match or contradict the timeline never emerged because the public did not know what to compare. Okay. So how does that fit into Jack and Lily's case? What if they I mean I've said this all along. Why haven't they not come out and said the last time they were seen was Thursday night? We know 2 vehicles came and went from the property and used that as the public's plea for information because the evidence points way more to them being taken with cars coming back and forth from their laneway the night before than them just walking out the backyard, the backyard on their own. I mean, what do you think? Possible failure to consider criminal elements. In the late 90s, several parts of Nova Scotia, including Truro Quarter, had known issues with drug trafficking networks. Well, that has not changed, has it? This is in the late 90s. We're 30 years later, and the issue is no better. Drug trafficking networks, exploitation of young men, transient criminal groups, interpersonal violence. Given Troy age, the small town environment, and the sudden disappearance, foul play should have been considered early. There is no indication this lens was applied with urgency in 1998. The likely impact if foul play occurred, critical investigation windows were missed, the lack of collaboration with Indigenous organizations. In dozens of similar cases, RCMP and local police historically failed to partner with Indigenous community networks, notify Indigenous outreach groups, involve community search coordinators, include Indigenous-led missing persons organizations. When that happens, searchers lack cultural awareness, community-based knowledge, informed local intelligence networks, and the likely impact would be that people who have known information about Troy's movements were never approached or never felt safe to step forward. Number 8, this case was treated as a generic missing persons, not a suspicious disappearance. This is perhaps the most consequential error. All disappearances lasting over 72 hours without explanation should be treated as suspicious. But in many cases, especially involving young Indigenous adults, they were handled as routine. This classification determines the number of officers assigned, whether a major crimes unit becomes involved, whether a full search is coordinated, whether public alerts are issued, whether media is engaged, whether early evidence is processed. By the time Troy's case was recognized as a probable suspicious disappearance, the trail was cold. Conclusion, the case suffered from the classic 4. Nearly this is blowing me away because you guys watched me type this into the chat. This is exactly what I was anticipating was going to come up. Nearly every unresolved disappearance of an Indigenous man in Atlantic Canada from the 1990s has the same pattern: slow response, assumptions of voluntary absence, minimal evidence preservation, and the lack of public engagement. Troy Cook's case appears to follow this pattern almost exactly. Had the investigation been handled with urgency in the first week, his disappearance might have been solvable. I'm just going to type Jack and Lilly's and Dylan Eller's case. I don't know if it's going to give me another. Okay, here we go. How does this relate? 33 watching, 17 liked. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Hey, Vicky, nice to see you, honey. You're here. You're here. No worries. So, yeah, everybody do the YouTube things. I'm going to do an update on Anna Kepner, Rebecca Park, and Gus Lamont tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. And then, because I'm in the last push for my book, I hit a wall today. I just can't freaking write right now. So I'm going to do that live tomorrow. And then I'm likely, until my book's done next week, for the first few days next week, I'm likely just going to do some readings. But yeah, welcome in, everybody. So this is very interesting. And then I have another case I want to talk about, but I want to talk about how this applies to Jack and Lily's case. So, because it just seems to me, will these kids get justice? The investigative patterns in Troy Cook's disappearance are deeply relevant when compared to the cases of Jack and Lilly Sullivan and Dylan Ellers. Wow. Because all three share systemic issues seen in Canadian missing persons cases, especially involving children, young adults, or vulnerable populations. Here's a detailed comparative analysis. Detailed or minimal initial responses. Troy Cook, the first 24 to 48 hours were not aggressively leveraged. Evidence at the payphone and witness canvassing may have been missed. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, police reported treating the case with caution, but didn't fully explore all leads immediately. There were redacted affidavits indicating uncertainty about whether the children walked off the property. In Dylan Eller's case, Dylan went missing on May 6, 2020. Early investigative gaps included unclear timelines, reliance on family statements, and public confusion over when he was last seen. The pattern here for number one pattern is delays in gathering evidence, securing locations, and interviewing key witnesses can critically damage cold case viability. Now, what do you think of that? If you need info, I am way deep into it. I have all the info on my Discord. Oh, thank you. I have all the docs. Thank you, honey. Cut off you. Do you have your own channel, honey? Do you have your own YouTube channel? I mean, this Rebecca Park. I started to cover Rebecca Park here a couple times, and then my followers, you guys here, were like, it's too intense. We have a lot of empaths here, and the energy and the viciousness on that crime is something else. But yeah, I mean, if you want to share anything you've got, I'd love to take what you've got, because I mean, that these people, I hope they get the death squad. There's no death penalty where they live, but it's not nice to say, but I mean, they are the most evil of evil. Like, you cut your own daughter out stomach alive and ripped her baby out alive. It's just, I can't even talk about it right now, but let's just stay on track. But so we've got the consistent patterns. Okay. So chat shows up with 7 points on how Troy Cook compares to Dylan Eller and Jack and Lilly Sullivan. So we have number 1, the delayed or minimal initial response. 2, assumptions about voluntary disappearance. So yeah, Troy Cook investigators assumed he may have left on his own volition, a common bias affecting Indigenous male missing person cases. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, there seems to have been implicit assumption about the children's independence or the capacity to leave the property as reflected in heavily redacted affidavits. Dylan Eller's investigation publicly explored abduction, but some early statements implied a possible runaway scenario, which have been slowed full mobilization. Okay, listen. I can't even. A 2-year-old, he just turned 3. A barely 3-year-old does not run away. That is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. A barely 3-year-old doesn't have the cognitive capacity. Storage channel, you can go join. It's lots of been so busted out playlists. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you. That's wonderful to know. Thank you. Well, listen, if you ever want to come up with me and do a panel and talk about some of these cases, I'm all for it. You're welcome to. I'd love to. Have you heard of Sonia Exelby? So unreal. I have all the info as well. Work several creators discords. I'm currently working. No, but I mean, I'd love to hear more about it and what you've got cut off. Send me an email. We'll talk behind the scenes but this here, just to stay on topic for today. This bias is wild. But what they're saying about Dylan Ellers, investigators publicly explored abduction, but some early statements implied a possible runaway scenario. Okay. If the cops thought that a just turned 3-year-old had the mental wherewithal to run away, thank you, Cutoff, sweetie. That's very appreciated. That is the most obscene thing I've ever heard. That is absolutely hogwash if that's the case. Number 3, limited public engagement or media push. Troy Cook, minimal early media coverage and lack of reward promotion delayed community tips. Limited in Jack and Lilly, limited public detail early on. Heavily redacted affidavits, delayed public awareness, may have reduced tip flow. Dylan Ellers, there was an eventual social media news coverage, but community confusion persisted in the early critical days. The pattern is rapid, transparent public engagement is crucial to generate leads and recover witnesses who may have been present but unaware of the case. The fourth common element between Troy Cook, Jack and Lilly, and Dylan Ellers: insufficient evidence, documentation, and preservation. Troy Cook, no known fingerprints or surveillance documentation at the payphone. Evidence may have been lost. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, if the children were last seen on the property, any forensic evidence from the scene, shoe prints, soil, fingerprints, may have been minimally collected or compromised. Well, we already know that. Thank you, Donna, honey. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Donna. I really appreciate you. We already know that the police didn't do a full, even the polygraph. They never asked about having the kids taken or removed from the property. They only asked about unaliving. What else did they not do? They took people's word for some of the clothing found on the scene, which is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So how well did they preserve the physical and digital evidence? I don't really know. What do you guys think? Tell me in the chat. Do you think that the RCMP, thank you, Donna, thank you. Do you think that the RCMP preserved evidence sufficiently in this case? I don't know. Number 5, the commonalities about the systemic vulnerabilities in cold case management between Troy Cook, Jack and Lilly, and Dylan Ellers. Troy Cook's case remained largely dormant until reward and age progressed images became public. Wow. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, redacted documents and the lack of transparency hindered both public awareness and independent tip generation. Dylan Ellers' case is still active, but gaps in reporting and confusion over timelines mirror systemic delays observed in other Canadian cases. The pattern: cases often stagnate when agencies lack coordination, follow-up, or transparency. Victims' families are left dependent on sporadic updates. 6, demographic and community factors between the 3 cases. Troy Cook, Indigenous male, 1998, Truro, Nova Scotia, historically under-prioritized in law enforcement attention. Jack and Lilly, children in Nova Scotia, with unclear circumstances surrounding the last sighting, family dynamic, rural urban settings, and possible neglect, exploitation factors may have affected early investigative focus. Dylan Ellers, he's not a young teen, he was a 3-year-old. It says young teen. In a rural setting, initial investigative assumptions and community responses influence the pace and scope of the search. The pattern is the vulnerable populations, children, Indigenous persons, or socially marginalized individuals face systemic under investigation, especially in the early hours. Well, that just blows me away. Let me just repeat that. A pattern of vulnerable populations, children, Indigenous persons, or socially marginalized individuals face systemic under investigation, especially in early cases. Wow. So the 7 key lessons across these 3 cases, 1 or 7 rather, the key lessons, there's 5 key lessons. 1, early aggressive investigation in the first 24 to 48 hours is critical. 2, avoid assumptions of voluntary absence, especially in vulnerable demographics. 3, preserve all potential physical and digital evidence immediately. 4, engage public media swiftly, transparently, and repeatedly. Transparently has not happened here at all in Jack and Lilly. And coordinate across agencies, include cultural sensitivity networks. In conclusion, the Troy Cook case mirrors the investigative gaps seen in both the Sullivan and Eller cases: delayed response, potential bias regarding volunteer disappearance, lack of full public engagement, insufficient early evidence preservation. In all 3, the critical early investigative window was underutilized, increasing the difficulty of solving the cases years later. Okay, let me just type in the other missing person case I want to cover. Well, she's not missing. She remains unresolved. Let's just put it that way. Whoops. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Okay, so I've said we're going to talk about the next case here that I want to talk about. Let me pull you this up. Let's pull this up. Let's remove this for a second. And let's pull this up for a second. Okay, Carissa, whoops. Come on. It's a stupid global news box. Okay. Crime Beat with Carissa Boudreau. Okay. I would say police need to build a case to get a solid conviction. Yeah. The less the public knows, the less they are held accountable for. The less the public hear and the suspects hear on social media, the better. Well, that's true. But there's also the element, I have mixed feelings about that, because I think, in Daniel's case, I think he's made himself look worse by coming out publicly. You know? I don't know. So I think I have a mixed feeling about that. But let's talk about this. This was printed November 6, 2020. Paul Boudreau is determined not to let the tragic loss of his daughter, Carissa, ruin his life. Boudreau agreed to share his emotional ordeal publicly for the first time with Global News. I don't need to hang in dark places to remember somebody. I don't want to remember somebody in the dark times. I want to remember when they're happy, skipping in the hallway, singing their songs. That was Carissa. Photo is courtesy of Paul Boudreau. For years, Boudreau could not visit his own town of Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, where 12-year-old Carissa was murdered. So this is a murder case, not a missing persons case. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Nature Walk, Sunny. Loved having you here. Love having you here. We're going to do a live tomorrow update on some other cases, Gus Lamont, Rebecca Park, and I wish we had updates on Melody Buzzard and on Anna Kepner. And if there's anything that comes up new in Sebastian Rogers, or I have a hard time talking about nothing. Like, I just don't want to talk about nothing. And there's just really not a lot going on in this case. So it's concerning. I hope we're going to get justice. But anyways, let's get back to this. I want to talk about Carissa because this is more of a system failure versus a law enforcement investigative failure. But I think it also applies in some of these cases, especially with Jack and Lilly and Sebastian Rogers. I had so much anxiety that I couldn't even pull in the exit. I mean, I'm okay now, but it took me a long time to reprogram my brain to not get that anxiety over going there. This is the father of Paul Boudreau's picture. Paul has rebuilt his life in Shelburne, just down the coast from Bridgewater, with a new wife, Kim, her 10-year-old son, Logan, and another daughter, 4-year-old Carmi. He ensures Carmi is aware of her older sister, reminding her as they examine school pictures of Carissa that she's up with the angels. Carissa has been my life every day. She's never left. Let's just pull this up here. I'm going to compare the systemic issues in this case to Jack and Lilly. Let's listen.
Last seen in the mall parking lot in front of Sobeys.
We're all worried. We just want you home safe.
Parents pitched in to help find Carissa, putting up posters, creating pages on social media. Divers were sent in. 2 weeks after Carissa disappeared, a break in the case. A woman reported her 9-year-old boy had seen human toes sticking out of the snow on a riverbank at a turnoff area.
I was hoping at that point that it was maybe misadventure on her part. I didn't want it to be a homicide.
The chief medical examiner concludes the cause of death was asphyxiation and that Carissa had been strangled.
Okay, that's horrible. Wait till you hear, though. Wait till you hear who strangled her. Wait till you hear.
We need to get to the truth, and an undercover operation is just that.
Things never made sense to me from day one.
To her father, Carissa was a normal child with a rebellious streak. She enjoyed music, teddy bears, and birthday sleepovers. You can watch the full episode of Carissa Boudreau, Up with the Angels, to click here. So if you want, we can watch that full episode. She liked to hop, skip, and, sing while she was running and things like that, and her and I were very close. In January 2008, Penny Boudreau reported her daughter Carissa missing. At 2 emotional news conferences, she said Carissa had disappeared from her vehicle while Penny was shopping at a Sobeys grocery store. Parents pitched in to help find Carissa, putting up posters, creating pages on social media, and donating money to her campaign to find her daughter. Two weeks after Carissa disappeared, a woman reported her 9-year-old boy had seen toes sticking out of the snow on the riverbank along Bridgewater's La Have River. An autopsy on the frozen body confirmed the remains as Carissa Boudreau. The chief medical examiner concluded the cause of death was asphyxiation, and Carissa had been strangled. Well, we saw that in Anna Kepner's case. Carissa's clothing had been arranged in a way that suggested she'd been sexually assaulted, but there were no other injuries. When the truth was revealed, it was the ultimate betrayal. Carissa had been murdered by her own mother. Okay? Tell me it's not the mom. There you go, Donna. It's the mom. It's the mom. Which is kind of also proving my point here. It was her mom. Investigators would discover that her mother, Penny, had driven to a secluded location in the dark, tackled Carissa, and strangled her with a piece of twine. Penny Boudreau, 34, was charged with first-degree murder, pleading guilty to a reduced charge of second-degree murder. Boudreau suggested to undercover cops she did it to save her relationship with her boyfriend, Vernon Macumber, who she claimed had given her an ultimatum: pick him or Carissa. Wow. Does that sound like Sebastian Rogers? Yes. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, does that sound like Sebastian Rogers? Isn't that wild? Oh, wow. But Macumber said he had no idea Penny would murder Carissa. He denies issuing an ultimatum, saying he only told Penny that the fighting between her and Carissa would not continue, that three were sharing an apartment in Bridgewater in December. The month before she was murdered, Carissa expressed her own thoughts in a series of handwritten notes obtained by Global News through a Freedom of Information request. December 2nd, 2008. I am sad because 1, I have to go to school tomorrow. 2, I miss Shane and Tracy. 3, I have to go to bed at 9:30 instead of 11. 4, I live in an apartment. 5, there is no room for my stuff. 6, I feel crowded. 7, end of story. My life sucks until we live in a house. By Carissa. December 2nd, 2008. I'm mad because my mom is engaged to Vernon. 2, mom made me move here. 3, mom broke up with Shane. 4, I want a bigger room. 5, I don't like Vernon living with us. 6, the end of my life is ruined. The end of my life is ruined. By Carissa. In one letter dated December 2nd, 2008, Carissa writes, I'm mad because my mom is engaged to Vernon. Mom made me move here. Mom broke up with Shane. I want a bigger room. I don't like Vernon living with us. The end. My life is ruined. By Carissa. At the end of the letter, Carissa drew a heart and a star. Carissa's tragic story will soon be the subject of a book by John Elliott, retired Canadian Mounted Police Sergeant. Wow. Sergeant Elliott was the coordinator in the RCMP Mr. Big sting operation that cajoled Penny Boudreau into confessing. We were actually in an adjoining room at a hotel, so we would have had a live feed, a video feed that was coming from the room where Penny was. So we did have a live feed, a video feed that was coming from the room where Penny was. This is wild. And we were watching it unfold. We heard Penny in her own words say that she had murdered her daughter, Carissa. No video or audio recording of Penny's Mr. Big confession has ever been released. Neither has the transcript. Elian calls it a surreal moment. When we saw it go down, we looked at each other and there were tears in our eyes that, we had solved it. We were going to give the family some justice. After the sentencing, there were sobs in the courtroom as the Crown recounted Carissa's final words. Mummy, don't. Ooh, those are the words that are beyond comprehension to her father, Paul Boudreau. How do you go from being a loving mother to standing on your child and strangling her to death? The last words are, Mummy, don't. Elliot says he's been thinking about writing a book about Carissa for years, partly to deal with the post-traumatic stress disorder he suffered after attending Carissa's autopsy. I went to her gravesite on 2 occasions, and that was part of dealing with what I had to deal with. She was just a normal 12-year-old girl. She wanted to grow up to be a veterinarian. She loved animals. I think it's important that she be remembered other than maybe a statistic in Nova Scotia crime reports or something. It's very sad. Hearing that Penny Boudreau had been granted some escorted day passes from prison infuriated me in some way, made me angry, Paul Boudreau says. It sealed his determination to honor Carissa. Penny had completed just over half of her 20-year sentence. She avoided a longer life sentence by pleading guilty, and she can apply for parole after 15 years under a faint hope clause in the criminal justice system. That was 2008. 15 years is 23. That's past. That's past today, or earlier than today. We've passed this point. I don't know if she's in jail still. Let's find out in a second. Typically, such a bid would have been launched by now. The Parole Board says it's prevented by the Privacy Act from disclosing whether there's been an application. A psychological assessment in 2018 rated her as a very low risk to reoffend. Oh, God. But the assessment said her romantic relationships should be monitored to ensure her risk remains low. It noted attachment disruptions in early childhood appear to have made you vulnerable to engaging in unhealthy relationships and reacting with extreme distress when they are in jeopardy of ending. Penny Boudreau is gradually gaining more freedom, receiving escorted day passes to attend church several times a year. Paul says he understands how the system works as part of an inmate's rehabilitation, but he says he'll oppose her freedom at every turn. Yeah, no kidding. Ever since this happened, she's never faced any of us. I want her to look at me in the eyes and tell me that she's rehabilitated and she should be out, he says. And if she can give me a good reason, then you know what? She's done her time, whatever, if she can give me one good reason why she thinks she should be out in the public and functioning again, you know what? I won't argue. But I guarantee you that's not going to happen. Penny declined our request for an interview. Paul says he doesn't know if there will ever be justice for Carissa. He agreed to be interviewed for the Global TV network program Crime Beat in an episode that airs Saturday, November 7th. This was 2020. He said he did it for his mother, Suzanne Greer, who died recently and never got over her granddaughter's murder. Wild. That is absolutely wild. Okay. So let's get into what Chad has to say about the observed patterns between the other Nova Scotia cases. Okay. Let's go. Whoops. Let's go. And then wrong one. Then I do want to show you what Belinda said in response to our other live, because I think it's important to make sure that we have the accurate information out there. Okay, absolutely. Let's analyze. I asked chat, please compare this to Carissa Boudreau's unsolved case with what we did with Troy up on top. So absolutely, let's analyze Carissa Boudreau's disappearance, Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, 2008, and compare it systematically to Troy Cook, Jack and Lilly, and Dylan Ellers to see recurring investigative patterns in Nova Scotia missing persons cases. Case snapshot, Carissa Boudreau, date missing, March 23rd, 2008. Age at disappearance, 20 years old. Location, Bridgewater, Lunenburg. She can't have been 20 years old, was she? Doesn't look 20. Walking near her residence, possibly hitchhiking or leaving boyfriend's house. Some uncertainty. What? I want to make sure it's got the right information here. Carissa Boudreau was murdered. This does not seem like the right analysis here, because was she 20? Let me just make sure. Okay. So she was 20. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So date missing, March 23rd, 2008. Age of disappearance, 20 years old. Location, Bridgewater, Lunenburg County, Nova Scotia. Last known walking near her residence, possibly hitchhiking or leaving a friend's house. Some uncertainty. Status, unsolved, remains missing after 15 years. It's giving me wrong information because she was found. So I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the observed patterns. I feel like it's not giving me the right case. Let's just, I got to go back here. Sorry, y'all. Carissa Boudreau. Oh, there is a book. John Eliot did write the book. A Mother's Betrayal, the Murder of Carissa Boudreau and the RCMP Investigation. Wow, he did write the book. Okay, let's just see if I can pull up her age from Nova Scotia woman. Oh my God, in June. Oh my God, here's the update. Let's go to this. We got the update. She was, I'll show you this. Nova Scotia woman. This is June this summer. June 2025, Nova Scotia woman who killed her daughter granted 60-day pass from prison, but not parole. Parole board to revisit Penny Boudreau's case in 6 months. That means they're going to reinvestigate it this month, December. Right now. We are December 12th. This is posted to June 19th. Right now. They are going to be reinvestigating this as we speak. Penny Boudreau is escorted from provincial court in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia in 2009 after pleading guilty to second-degree murder in the death of her daughter, Carissa. What do you all think? Should you ever be allowed parole after you kill your own kid? What do you think? Should you ever be allowed parole? I'm sorry. I'm of the belief once a killer, no. I don't know. You killed, and see, here we go. She was 12, so chat is incorrect. So that's why I wanted to check. Nova Scotia woman who murdered her 12-year-old daughter in 2008 has been granted an unescorted pass from prison for 60 days. But the Parole Board of Canada denied Penny Boudreau's request Wednesday for a day parole, saying she wasn't ready to live in a community for a more prolonged period with fewer restrictions. In January 2009, Boudreau pleaded guilty to second-degree murder after admitting that she had used a length of twine to strangle Carissa Boudreau on the night of January 27, 2008. Court heard that the woman from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, now in her 50s, wanted the girl out of the way because she was interfering with Boudreau's relationship with a boyfriend. Boudreau was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but under federal law, she was allowed to apply for day parole or so-called unescorted temporary absence with 3 years left in her sentence. Day parole can be granted up to 6 months and is less restrictive than a UTA. In both cases, offenders must return at night to a supervised setting like a halfway house, but there's a closer supervision and more restriction to those on a UTA. Those on a day parole, for example, can apply to leave unescorted for a weekend, but those on a UTA cannot. As the hearing in Truro, Nova Scotia began Wednesday, this is just this past summer, Carissa's father, Paul Boudreau, read from a statement saying his daughter's death had left a huge void in his life. Am I a failure as a father? Should I have seen this coming? He said, this turmoil has lowered my self-worth to a very low point. Life will never be the same for many of us. The hearing, led by a 2-member panel from the parole board, heard Boudreau had completed correctional programs, had received treatment from a mental health team while working as an assistant to the chaplain at the Nova Scotia Institution for Women in Truro. You've made good use of the time, a panel member said. You've led a productive lifestyle. As well, they were told Boudreau had been granted escorted day passes for the past 7 years. It participated in psychological risk assessment that determined she was at a very low risk to reoffend. Unhealthy intimate relationship risk, but the panel also heard she's considered a high risk for entering into unhealthy intimate relationships. Throughout the hearing, Boudreau spoke barely above a whisper. At times, she struggled to answer questions about how she could cope in certain situations, and she lost her composure several times, dabbing her eyes with a tissue as she sobbed. When asked to reflect on the impact her actions have had on the broader community, she struggled to respond. A great deal of consideration went into the impact on the community, she said, drawing a deep breath. I have talked about it with several people, and I feel like people are going to be hurting. I don't know if there's anything I can do to mitigate causing more hurt or anger. She also mentioned how her unescorted day passes allowed for a gradual reintegration into society. There's still work to be done. It would have been overwhelming to do this too much, she said. I'm allowed to be gradually hopeful that I can do this. But when she was asked to rate her overall progress in prison on a scale from 1 to 10, she said she rated herself at a 6 or 7. That means there's still work to be done. a board member told their hearing as it drew to a close. The board thinks you're very conscious of the work that needs to be done on relationships, managing emotions, and dealing with obstacles that can be highly stressful. I don't fucking know. Like, this to me, this whole process, where is the child in this? Where is the consideration? A big no, no. Exactly. Like, I don't know. You know, Paul Bernardo, the biggest serial killer ever in Canada. Well, not the biggest, but one of the biggest publicly. Carla Homolka was his wife, girlfriend, and she brought her own sister to him to kill. She got a law degree while she was in prison, murdered her own sister, okay, at the hands of this guy that was a serial killer that she was obsessed with, and allowed him to murder her own sister. And she got a law degree on taxpayers' dollars in this country and lives in Montreal now and was set free. I just personally cannot support that. I think murder is where we draw the line. Rape and murder and mutilation and trafficking and all those things, we're not talking about petty theft here. We're talking about people. When people violate people, am I too strict? I just don't think. You murdered your own effing 12-year-old daughter and you choked her to death. You had time to stop yourself with a twine and left her body to die alone, dead and alone in the snow. And you can't even tell eloquently with the parole board what kind of contribution you've made to society. I don't know. Okay, let's go back in and see if I can get a comparison here. Let's go. I just want to know if there were warning signs. That could have been avoided. Okay. Yes, there were warning signs. Here we go. Let's get this take on it. Yes, from publicly reported information, there were warning signs in Carissa Boudreau's early life that in hindsight could have indicated risk even at 12 and potentially pointed towards later lethal harm. While every case is complex, several factors appear in child homicides involving a parent or a caregiver. Okay, this is interesting because then I'm going to get it to apply this to Jack and Lilly. Family dysfunction or conflict. Reports indicate family tension existed. Oh, I forgot to share. Family tension existed with interpersonal conflict between Carissa and her mother. Early patterns of parental control, emotional abuse, or hostility can be significant risk indicators for child harm, particularly when combined with stressors like separation, financial strain, or parental mental health issues. Okay, well, we know in Jack and Lilly, we had parental control issues, apparently, with Daniel. We had emotional abuse, potentially, apparently, allegedly, with Daniel. And we have risk indicators for separation and financial stress. We also have the thoughts that potentially Malaya had postpartum depression. These are all alleged, but possible connections here. Behavioral and emotional red flags. Number 2, children experiencing abuse often show anxiety, withdrawal, or fear around caregivers. Sudden behavioral changes, school avoidance, aggression, or secretiveness, self-harm, depression, or suicidal ideation. While specific public records on Carissa's behavior at 12 are limited, experts often note that a murder by a parent at a young age rarely occurs without prior attention or warning signs, even subtle ones. Well, we just read her own letters that said she was uncomfortable with the boyfriend and didn't want him living there. Now, that didn't point to her mother, but it showed an indicator of stress with respect to her living situation. In many filicide cases, minor assault threats or negligent escalation over time, prior indications of escalation. So in Carissa's experienced earlier, physical discipline, intimidation, or neglect, these have been precursors, could have been precursors. Systemic oversight in monitoring at-risk children. Yeah, this is really going to apply to Jack and Lilly. Child protection or school reporting mechanisms are critical. Warning signs such as emotional distress, absenteeism with Jack and Lilly, or reports for teachers and peers may not have been acted upon adequately. In small towns, systems lack resources to track subtle signals in real time, particularly for families not previously flagged by child protection. Red flags not recognized as critical. Often caregivers showing anger, control, or extreme reaction to minor behavior are red flags for potential future violence. These may appear subtle at the time and are easy to dismiss, but in hindsight, they form part of a pattern of risk to lethal outcomes. In summary, while Carissa was only 12, the risk factors present in her home environment, parental hostility, family tension, and possibly early signs of abuse could have been warning signs. Systemic intervention, school monitoring, child protection, counseling, and mandatory reporting may have mitigated the risk, but often these signs are subtle and not always recognized and acted upon in small communities. How does this compare to Jack and Lilly? Okay, see if I can get this last question out. And if I can't, well, we can do it ourselves because we already know. We already know that these, yeah, I can't do it. I've used all my free chat. But I mean, look at family dysfunction and conflict, Was she forced to be with her mom? Why was she forced to be with her mom? Yeah, I know. We can blame the police, but it's the courts and the parole board that make the decisions. Absolutely. Oh, no, I'm not blaming the police in this case. Absolutely. I'm definitely not blaming the police with respect to that. But it's just that I just don't like the thinking, the line of thinking right now in this country. However, let's go to Jack and Lilly, okay? Our prime minister in Canada, well, let's just go back here quickly before I skip pages. Jack and Lilly, could this have been avoided based on these two cases? One, could they have been found? Will it be solved? What do you think? Yes or no? Do you think Jack and Lilly would be solved? Because looking at these two cases, was there a systemic failure recognizing this as a potential risk in the family? I think yes. I think when they show up with bruises on their face, autistic or not, I think there's absolutely possibly signs that could have been flagged for more serious warnings. No, don't worry. I'm not, no, that's why I'm asking. We don't have, but we have Malaya's alleged. That's why I said alleged, right? I used the word alleged, I'm sure, when I said we have alleged drug use. We have alleged reports, absolutely neglect for sure. We can see neglect. We have the kids being, by Daniel's own admission, constantly having bruises on their face. And we have Malaya's accusations that he was controlling, but you're right, these are just alleged. But they had bruises often. And so I'm asking, with Children's Aid having been involved, was this a case that should have been flagged? Daniel's kids saying he abused them. Yes, thank you, Donna. We have Daniel's kids saying he abused them. We have him admitting to his own drug addiction issues. And we know, I think he admitted that they weren't going to get their support because he didn't do his taxes. Has that been admitted or is that alleged? Can anybody tell me if that was admitted to or alleged? So yes, none of this is factual. These are just alleged, unless they were delivered to us by Daniel. Yeah, but Lori, we're not just going by legal sources, because as we've just been talking about, the legal sources are not, if you've been watching from the beginning, the lack of transparency is not helping with this case, right? We've just been through that. So we're not going by legal here. We're going by what Daniel has admitted to, is what I'm asking for. Because if we're going to go by legal, we're going to get jack shit. We're going to get shit all. We're going to get zero, nada, fucking thing. So we're not going by what the RCMP have said. I'm asking for what Daniel has validated and confirmed. I don't think Daniel confirming he has a drug problem is him just lying. I think he's got a drug problem. He's admitted to it. I think he's admitted to needing his... Yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to get... This is the whole point. I don't know if you've been here for the last hour and a half, Lori, but I don't think we're going to get resolution in this case. That's the whole point of this. I don't think we're getting honest transparency. And I think because that was the case at the beginning of this case, I don't think you're going to ever get transparency from the RCMP here. I don't think they're ever going to come out and change their narrative, which is the entire problem. I think they went too far into their initial focused. The kids walked out the door. I don't think they asked the right polygraph tests. I think they failed in collecting the evidence properly. I don't think it was timely enough. I think the same narrative of they just walked out the back door, searches and searches and searches, and believing in the parents is the problem. So are we going to get transparency from law enforcement at this point? No, we're not. Like I've told you at the beginning of this, one of these officers told me himself on the phone a month ago, they don't have a fucking clue. So if you think they're going to come out here suddenly and say, we're transparent, we don't have a fucking clue what happened, we fucked this case up, I think you're fucking in lollyland. You're in fucking complete lollyland, Lori. It's not going to fucking happen. We are doing our best guess here. So if you don't agree, that's fine. But I'm done answering to you because there's other people listening in the chat. My point of this narrative is, this whole live stream is, we aren't getting the truth. We aren't getting the facts. In my opinion, they fucked this up from the beginning with the narrative of the parents. They had a very narrow focus at the beginning. They didn't properly collect investigative, they didn't do DNA. They didn't do forensics in those trailers at the very beginning. I think they fucked this up so badly at the beginning that, well, most Ellie are not going to confirm any of it, right? So exactly, like, I don't know what we're waiting for. I mean, if you still think that lollipops and fairies, are on all the heads of the officers, I think you're in the wrong chat, because I think officers generally are good, but do I think they fucked this case up and they're going to be transparent? Yeah, I think they fucked this case up. Do I think they're going to be transparent? Not a rat's ass chance. They're going to be transparent about the fact that they fucked this case up. I think you're going to get zero truth from the RCMP at this point. Yeah, it's okay to have your opinion. I agree, not getting any truth and will not be confirmed. Exactly. I don't think we're going to get any truth out of this. So, Laura, you're welcome to disagree, but I'm not sitting here holding my breath waiting for the RCMP to be transparent in this shit. In fact, I think if we were waiting for RCMP to be transparent in all these missing kids cases, we wouldn't need YouTube. That would be the point. We wouldn't need YouTube, because the YouTube and the chit chat that's been going on from Daniel and the family and everything else coming out has kept the narrative alive. And we've had way more truths come out that way than we ever have by the RCMP. If we were just listening to the RCMP, we would all just think those kids are back in the backyard somewhere dead and were never found. And most people don't believe that. So I don't think that's the way forward in solving these cases. I think the way forward in solving these cases is exactly what Chat said. Better transparency, better tools at the beginning for not assuming the family to be not lying. I mean, we just saw a clip of this woman in the news clip saying, she did this and she sounded so innocent, only to find out she murdered her own daughter. If we want to believe the family's narrative every time a child goes missing, then we are completely effed. We are completely effed. So absolutely don't think we're going to get transparency ever. So let me read this. Yet, make sure I can see it. Yes, from publicly reported information, there were warning signs in Carissa Boudreaux's early life. Okay, we got that. Oh, yeah, and I've asked for it to do, and it won't give me the Jack and Lilly. So I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get the transparency, but let's go to the last live I did, because I want to show you so that we are being transparent, and the parts that we can be with the facts that we do know. I want to make sure that we are reporting on that accurately. So let me just go into the last let's go back. I want to go back to Belinda's, because Belinda's came on and did some gave us some information. She posted a few. Hang on. That was the wrong one. I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. She did make some comments, and I want to make sure that we are exploring that. I think social media can be a great help to many cases. Yeah, exactly. Listen to them. Everything else is hearsay. I agree, Lori. Absolutely. Like, I don't think you and I are disagreeing. I'm just saying, I don't believe the RCMP are ever going to give us the full story. I just don't. Because, like I said, what one of them told me on the phone, they don't have a clue as of a month ago. They are not going to ever come out publicly and say that. That's just not going to happen. Ever. And it's sad. It's absolutely sad. And I probably shouldn't be saying this publicly, but that's exactly what he said. And it's disheartening. And so it's been weighing on me quite a bit, that statement. Will they ever get justice? I don't think so. So I'm at this point, I'm feeling not very hopeful. So let's go to, because this was when we were talking about Brad Wong and the blanket. And a couple days ago, I was like, how can Jesus, so many comments that have been posted since then, I have to get on. How can I feel like, I'm trying to sort it. I'm trying to get to Belinda's. I don't know how I can feel like optimistic about this case. It's getting to that point where it just feels like, I don't know. Okay, hang on. Trying to find Belinda's comments. Come on. Come on. Jeez, does she delete them all or what? I'm trying to get Belinda's comments about her son and child support and all that. Well, I don't know why. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. It's very strange. Let me just see. That is so strange. I mean, I've answered all her. I responded and thanked her and answered. It's so weird. Let me just look for it. I think Belinda deleted all her responses. That is the strangest thing. If I got the wrong, I must have the wrong live. Hang on. Let me go back in. Well, that is so strange. I thought it was a live. Yeah, uncovering the truth. I was looking at the wrong live. Hang on. Jesus, Liane. Okay, there we go. I was looking at the wrong live. Oh, I'll be okay. Liane, I'll be okay. Stop sharing. Let's look at the long live because I do want to make sure that we are accurate when we know the facts. Okay, so we were talking about Jack and Lilly and the Brad Wong thing, right? It keeps bringing me Jesus. Okay. So we were talking here about Jack and Lilly discuss planet item from Brad Wong's. And I am just like blown away because I've had visions that included Wong, and now months into this, his I don't know. I think it was planted. Personally, I think it was planted. But I would just want to read the comments. So Belinda answers here. I'm just going to make myself smaller. Let me find that screen so you can see the words more easily. Belinda Gray says, Malaya had full custody, but my son still had his rights. Okay, because we were asking and we were talking about whether or not somebody in the stream, I think his name was actually Mike, was talking about was there a motivation for the father, Belinda's son, to be motivated, right? Well, no, she says he has been paying. That's the point. I'm not. There's an example of Belinda PI telling everyone about the sweater that's so-called. I don't know what you mean, Lori. No, I know you're not arguing, honey. I'm all for it. But what do you mean? So 9 months ago. Well, let's read what Belinda has to say. Yeah. So he was saying. So yes, let's just talk about what Belinda was saying right now. So Belinda says Malay had full custody, but my son still had his rights. Okay, and then she goes on. Belinda Gray says, Bio dad paid child support up until he lost his job 9 months before the kids went missing. Okay. So he was paying child support right up until he lost his job 9 months before the kids went missing. And then she clarified, I think, 2 other points. Belinda, it was an ongoing investigation, so please bring me home could only do the walk away theory, and I was the one to contact them and still have contact. So, because it's an I don't know what that means other than it's an ongoing investigation, so please bring me home could only do the walk away theory. So in other words, they could only investigate as if the kids walked away, which I'm not clear on how that is, but they were limited in their search based on that. Now, I thought there was a 4th one that she commented on, but maybe not. So he was paying child support until he lost his job, and he did have rights to the kids. Melissa, but he still had his rights, even though she had full custody. Okay, so we're just clarifying that. They cannot invest if it was a kidnapping or unaliving. Oh, really? Yeah, no, that's right. He was paying his child support right up until he lost his job close to a year. That's why he's been living back with his mother. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Has not been paying child support. He signed his rights away. Well, no, that's what Belinda was saying. He did pay child support even though he signed his rights away until he lost his job. So that is what you keep saying, and Belinda's correcting you. He was paying child support even though he did have his rights, and he was paying child support until 9 months ago. Signing your rights away has nothing to do with, yes, they're two totally separate issues. Exactly, Cindy. So that's what Belinda was clarifying. I'm signing rights away means that he has absolutely no say in any decisions that he makes, medical, otherwise, for those two kids. He's not an active parent. Yes. And he doesn't pay. When you sign away rights, you have no rights. And well, in Canada, Don, I think it's different. So I think that's why Belinda, I think you're stuck on a narrative that Belinda keeps changing, that she's changed, because I think she's talking to you. No offense, Donna, because I don't think that's the case here in Canada. He was still by court ordered to pay child support, which has nothing to do and doing up until he lost his job, apartment, or vehicle. Yeah, so he was still paying support. So when you sign your rights away, you have no rights, and he doesn't pay child support. Yeah, so okay, he's absolutely was responsible for paying child support and does not remove your responsibility. Doesn't mean the child don't live with you. You're not given visitation. Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing here. If I'm wrong, I'll admit to that. No, I think we're all on the same page, right? You're not part of any decision making for the kids. Exactly. So I think we're all on the same page. We're just saying it differently. So Belinda just wanted to clarify. He was paying child support until he lost his job 9 months ago, which, if you don't have a job, I mean, how can you pay some support for something when you have no money? I mean, that makes sense. And he's been put out there. It's been put out there different. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, so, and Belinda wanted us to clarify. So I thought it was important to acknowledge that she wanted to clarify that he only stopped paying support when he lost his job. PI said on its show, what's its show? About the bloody sweater been found, and she was dishing the police, but she works with them. That could seriously damage the guardianship because Belinda hired her. I don't know what that means, Lori. What show, honey? I don't know what that means. And what show do you mean? In Nova Scotia, if you are a parent collecting any type of government subsidy, welfare, or anything else, they will require that at the very least a maintenance enforcement would go after other parent for support. Interesting. Okay, honey. I don't know what that means, Lori. Can you explain, honey, some more? On its show. What show did she go on? I don't know if Belinda's PI personally should be doing any shows. I really hope this is not another case of I'm just going to stop sharing. I really hope this is not a case of Tony Mathis and all the PIs coming into the YouTube stream making a mockery of the case. So if Christy was on DT and said that stuff about, oh God. Okay, well, we'll go play it. I'll play it. What did she say about the sweater? Do you guys want to watch it now? I just think that's a bad move, Belinda. If you're watching, do not let your investigator to go on live streams. I don't think that's good. I tell me, everybody, tell me after we've seen with Sebastian Rogers, if Chrissy should be on YouTube lives. Just your opinion. Just your opinion. I mean, I got nothing to talk about. I'd be happy to have her up here, but I I'd be happy to have her up here because there's nothing new coming out. But I think it's a serious mistake, Belinda, if you're watching, and just read the chat. Okay, tell me why you don't think she should be up there. I think she should not be up there. She should not be on YouTube, Belinda. Don't let her go on YouTube. Just my opinion from other cases we've solved. Anybody else have an opinion? There's 27 of you in here. The only 2 of you said no. Do you think it's a good idea that Chrissy goes on all the YouTube panels? Sure, let's play it. She leaked information that was supposedly still under... Yes, pushing a different narrative. Let's go. Okay, let's go watch it. When was DT live? DT YouTube. Ugh. Drunk turkey. I mean, okay. And it's not that I don't like DT. I really do. It's kind of like where I was going with you earlier. When I was going earlier with Lori. It's not that I don't like the police. I just don't trust them to be transparent and honest because it's not their freaking job to be transparent and honest. To the public. Their job is to solve the case. Their job is to solve the case. Period. And yeah, I know. I know. I have her lawyer's email and phone number. Oh, she phoned in. Okay. Okay, everybody else. Is Shenanigans in? Shenanigans here? Hey, Shenanigans, you, my dear. I have to say I love you. I have to say I love you. If you ever want to come up here and we'll do a panel together, let me know. I love your energy. I love the no bull crap. I so love you. I've asked my subscribers here. We showed one of your lives to subscribe to your channel. Let me ask you this, Shenanigans. We're talking right now about whether or not Belinda's PI should be on YouTube channels. I would love to have more to talk about with Jack and Lilly. I still think it's a bad idea that Belinda's private investigator is talking on YouTube channels. What do you think? Are you willing to answer that? She phoned it. Yeah, Liane and Darlene was in chat and Belinda wanted everyone to know. Who's Darlene? I'm so out of it. Who's Darlene? Okay, we're going to go watch it. Let's go watch it. She phoned in. Let's go watch it. Okay. Is it what last live was it? Blue blanket mystery solved. Okay, so he's doing that next. Okay. Let's go and watch. Let's go and watch it. Let's go and watch it. We're going to go and watch it. We're going to watch it. Thank you. It's going to be longer than I was planning, but so be it. That's fine. Daleen is the lawyer. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Thank you. She has a reason for it. Yeah, you're probably right, honey. You're probably right, Shenanigans. Do you want to come up and chat with me someday? If you're interested, let me know. Yeah, neither the PI or the lawyer should be on any social media platforms doing this ridiculous shit they're doing. It's a messy. She is a private investigator from what I understand. Yes, I know, because somebody wanted me to talk to them because I volunteer with the Find Me group. Shenanigans, do you want to come up now, honey? I'd love that. I'd love that. I so adore you, and I want my channel subs to subscribe to you because I think you and I have very similar energy. We don't tolerate bullshit. It's not a PI job to disclose possible evidence to the public. I know, Lori. I know. But I love Belinda. I do. I love Belinda. My heart goes out to her. I was hard at her at the beginning. I'm not going to lie. I'll send you a link if you want to go now, or do you want to do it like more organized? Let me know. I was hard on her in the beginning. Give me 5. Okay, perfect, honey. Just because of my own trauma, my own trauma. But I absolutely had no right to be like that. I publicly acknowledged that I was hard on her. I've said it before, and I feel bad for that. That's my own trauma from feeling abandoned by my mother. And, her sort of giving up her rights to her grandkids. But that's uncalled for. And I apologize publicly. And I've said it before. It was uncalled for. Not that I was mean to her. I was just, upset because I just feel like this whole system failed these kids. And yeah, it's just sad. It's really sad. But let's Shenanigans is going to come up when she comes back here. We'll send her an invite because I absolutely love her. I like her energy. Cody was paying child support. He did not sign his rights away. Gave Malaya sole custody. Well, we just read, Carol, from Belinda that exactly that we just read that. So I don't know if you're coming in a little bit late, but we just read Belinda's comments exactly that he was paying child support up until 9 months ago, or 9 months rather, before the kids went missing when he lost his job. And then he couldn't pay it. But yes, so thank you. Okay, let's I'll copy this. Thank you, honey. I'll copy this for when Shenanigans comes back. Let's start watching this because it's going to take me a minute. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. The DT show. And let's watch it. I want to see what the clarification is on this. Listen, Belinda and her lawyer must have, they must want, like, there's some reason, like Shenanigans said, as to why they would have been up there, right? I just don't know what that is yet. So let's watch this. Let's listen in. Oh, and Donna, can you send me the original missing persons? Because I want to, once I'm done with my book, I want to say stupid book, because I'm more focused on this than I am my book right now. Where my heart is right now. But once I'm done my book next week and it's launched, I want to go back to creating an intro. Shenanigans, the courts see that that is a big problem, and any defense team would have a field day with that. I don't know, but let's listen into this. If you want to play tough, I'm gonna hate this, I'm gonna show up. I don't ever show up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you want to play tough and want to hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever show up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. Okay, we're gonna fast forward.
Here we go. Because I'm sure you guys probably already see in the that's pinned in the comment section. Well, one of our amazing mods, Chloe, she had a family member pass away suddenly, and to show our support to her, and our thoughts and our prayers go. But we'll go into that more, and if we have time, we'll also go into this guy named Vincent Mallory. Now, I haven't seen this. I've seen. Wait, let me rephrase this. I've only seen about 45 seconds of what he has to say. Now, a lot of people keep telling me I need to watch it. I need to watch it. Listen to it with an open mind. Listen to him. Apparently he's got some sort of illness, and he lives in the area, and he knows some information. When I turned it on, it was at the
Thank
moment where
you.
he said he was making out with like a 25-year-old and how he was a lucky guy. I immediately,
Yeah, okay, let's fast forward in. Okay, I don't really want to talk about that guy, unwell man.
oh, there's ice conditions, and had told me about who she was. So I was familiar with the name. I had never, and when I brought up the boot prints, there was some information that she wasn't aware of. I am not really siding with her on any, but it's nothing like, what some people are saying that he got beat up. Nowhere near the case. And so those are the first two things when it comes to that. Second of all, let's pull this up. I want to pull this up. This is from It's Crime and Shame. And this was about the blanket that I had talked about with Chrissy Travers. She is a PI that called into the show. So first and foremost, I want to preference this with, I had a call-in show where a PI called into the show, and is somewhat loosely connected to the case. She was part of Please Bring Me Home. I had heard her name before through Daniel. Actually, Daniel's the one that told me about her in the past, and other folks too. Some folks from Malaya's camp had told me about who she was. So I was familiar with the name. I'd never spoken with her or anything like that before. So she called in, and she was indicating that there was a blanket that was found, and there was blood on it and a bunch of other things. Now, some folks really didn't understand when I posted the video that I posted here recently, which was the clip of that call-in show. The reason I posted the clip was, one, I am not really siding with her on anything with the blanket goes as far as its relevance. She tells me about the blood and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't hear that. What I heard was that they found a blanket and stuff, but it was deemed to be irrelevant. And that's what I continued to say. And then at the end of it, I asked her about the boot prints. And what was more important for me about that video was, because she was trying to implement some of Janie's family members and some other stuff too, right? And so what I was trying to do was trying to say, all right, well, how do you tie in all this information that you currently have with, the boot prints? And when I brought up the boot prints, there was some information that she wasn't aware of. And I clarified it, and then she's like, well, that kind of changes some things. And that was the
I know,
entire
honey.
point of the video, was to indicate this is what we got in real time, and how I was, not necessarily like going hard at her, like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. I was unaware of what she was saying for the most part. But once I started to grasp what it was that we were talking about, I started to, I was like, no, from what I understand, it's irrelevant. And then I brought in the boot prints, where you have somebody who really thought that perhaps Daniel may have done something. And that's what my thought might be, is that they think that either Daniel, Janie, or Malaya may have done something. And the point is to show that somebody who may have had that train of thought, once presented with the full evidence, it's not so clear anymore, right? And she even said, well, that changes some things. And so that was the whole point of that video. I know it went over some folks' heads, and they thought that I was trying to post it as being real, which doesn't make any sense, because I don't believe that Daniel, Malaya, or Janie did something nefarious to the kids. If you want to argue that they were being neglectful, that they should have watched the kids, that they were maybe even potentially on drugs that morning and they were asleep and that's why they didn't hear the kids leave, and you can argue that all you want. I'm not going to argue against it, because I have no idea. I wasn't there. And that would somewhat fit some of the evidence that we have. I mean, I can't deduce that as being a possibility, right? And but for me, my argument is that the kids wandered off. Regardless of what situation it was, I strongly believe that the kids wandered off, and I think the boot prints and the blanket are.
Okay. Do you guys think that the kids wandered off? Thank you, honey. No, I knew it wasn't the right live when I started listening to it, but he's also referencing it. Chrissy Travers is literally only 30 minutes long. It's the one that the thumbnail says Chrissy Travers. Okay. Okay, I'm looking for it, honey. I'm looking for it. It might be a video. I'm looking. Okay. Tell me though, everybody, do you think, yes or no, that Chrissy and the PI are making a mistake, or do you think that they should go on the lives? I'm just looking for it. There it is. PI Chrissy Travers. Okay, we got it, honey. Thank you. Thank you for being patient. Let's watch it. Let's watch it. Hey, there you are.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Let me just get my earphones set up so we don't have an echo. One sec.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's better.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hey, and you don't have an echo.
Okay.
How you doing?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
How are you enjoying YouTube
Uh,
with
I'm
your own?
enjoying it actually. I didn't think I was going to, because normally I'm quite like a private person, but here we are.
I like your energy because, and I noticed you were going to talk about JD's tarot. So I volunteer with the Find Me group. I don't know if you know anything about me, but I have found missing kids before. I work as a psychic medium, and I saw you talking about JD's tarot. So I don't know how open you are to this, but I have found a missing child in Canada before as a psychic medium, and try to split the channel into two. So we're not talking about that today. But I just thought you might be a little more open to talking to somebody like myself who was born getting visions I didn't ask for. And I've had a few in this case, and it's disturbing to say the least. So, who do you,
I have a very open mind for all things, and I was actually worried that I might come across as being insulting or rude with the tarot cards, but it's something my mom was into for a very long time, and she gave me a book about 30 plus years ago, and I've
okay?
got a couple of decks. I've
Okay,
got a
okay.
couple of decks,
Just
but
to be clear, I don't use tarot readings as evidence in my cases. I
no.
don't. I just to be clear, I say that to people on the channel over and over and over again. I ended up in true crime because my dad was defrauded, and I'm Canadian as well. Are you Canadian?
I am, yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm Canadian. I was from Ottawa. My dad was a lawyer and was defrauded of all his money by my mom, who ignored my power of attorney when he had dementia, left to die in the US. And so I was coaching real estate agents at the time, ended up losing all my clients while caring for my dad with dementia, and was the victim of the justice system in Canada right now. I had 600 emails of evidence, went all the way up to the Attorney General's office, and basically it came back saying because there was lawyers and a judge involved in millions of dollars, we have a 1% chance of it getting convicted. And so that's how I ended up with my true crime channel, because I lost all my coaching clients while trying to care for my dad because they were paying me $250 an hour. Most of my clients, I was a Keller Williams agent. They asked me to become a coach, and most of my clients were in the US, and I paying me $250 an hour, and I'd have to leave because my dad was going to walk out the door and get lost or do something, or he would be talking, or, so that's how I ended up here. So I have a different perspective because I feel the injustice so adamant. Like, I'm so pissed about this case because I just don't know if they're going to get justice at this point. It just feels like there's been such a narrative that they walked out the door that doesn't look like the evidence matches anymore. Will they ever get to the truth of this? I'm not trying to be negative today, but I'm wondering. So we've been investigating for 2 hours the other unsolved cases in Nova Scotia, and the markers are, a narrow narrative at the very beginning. How do you feel about that? About the narrative that they walked out the door?
I think that's what the RCMP were told initially. And that's what they went on initially, was based on the phone call that they received that two children, possibly autistic, that were known to had wandered into the woods.
Yeah.
And I think that this case will bring about some big changes in the future for any other circumstance that happens. I think that in the future, any child that disappears, no matter what the circumstances, major crime should be brought in straight away, and it should be treated as a crime scene straight away from the moment the phone call is received by the law enforcement. And I think that until a crime isn't proven when it comes to children, it should be treated as such, because
Mhm.
children don't just wander away without proper supervision. Like, with
Right.
proper supervision, they wouldn't wander away.
And what do you think happened to them? Are you comfortable to just express what you think?
I've got a couple of theories, and they're just theories, really, because we have no proof of anything. I think what my concern was, I would like to have thought that what the circumstances were was that they wandered away.
Mm-hmm.
However, with information that's come out subsequently by people in the family, Daniel Martel and Darren Geddes, for example, they have come out and pointed the finger at Malaya. So they have debunked, those two people have debunked or have been attempting to debunk the idea that the children wandered off. And when Daniel came out and said, I'm 100% sure that the human remains dogs will not find anything, that was a bit of a red flag for me. That was, I really wanted to try to keep an open mind. However, every day that goes by, it becomes more and more difficult to do so. And there does seem to be a lot of interference in this case, a lot of questionable evidence, and a lot of different people pushing specific narratives. And I can't figure out yet whether it is deep-seated racism or if it is genuinely people trying to push a narrative.
You're talking about Derwood. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't get what his involvement is in this other than, like, my vision involves his son. I'm going to tell you outright. I have been communicating with Mike Wilson, the RCMP. I called the crime unit with my vision that I had on May 8th. And the evidence that has come out late since then, that, like, I called and said I had a vision, which I've had for I'm 57. I just turned 57 Monday. And I've had my whole life, and I don't enjoy them, but they are what they are. I get them in my dreams, and they're visions. It's like I'm being brought back in time, and I could see a man walking with long black, almost blackish hair, dark brown, shoulder length, thin build, walking Jack and Lily in what looked like wheat, like farming field almost. And I connected with Jack, and I said, "Where are you being taken?" And he said, "Uncle Larry's barn." Well, the black barn is owned by Lawrence Geddes.
Yes.
Larry Geddes.
Yeah.
And
Melvin Lawrence Geddes. Yeah. Yes, I've done a lot of research on all the family members. I've got a family tree done for every family that involved.
Yeah. So I'm just having a hard time coming to grips with, and I believe Mike took me very seriously because he sent it to the commander, the sheriff, the top, like the triage team. And I mean, I communicated with Mike several times, by phone, by text, by email. And so it's just blown my mind. I also had a vision of Brad Wong. Now we find out his belongings show up 5 kilometers down the road. And I just had the vision of Brad Wong during my life. I didn't have a clue who he was. So for me, it's just like I'm coming at it a completely, like, I don't understand. If I've found other missing kids in Canada. I don't know if you remember the little boy that drowned at Rockport, like in 2018. The boat capsized in Kingston on the St. Lawrence. His father was driving. There's an article of it. I've shown it on this channel before. Police drivers couldn't find his body. We knew he capsized. We knew he went into the water. And a woman I was working with that works with the RCMP, also works with the FIME group as a psychic medium. She knew the mom. Mom was a lawyer. Police were not able to find him. She hired her own diving team and refound him. My guides took me to the exact house he was in front of, in an underground cave in the St. Lawrence River in the Black. So it's not like I get these visions and they're utterly useless. So anyways, that's just my take on it. I just somehow feel like possibly Derwood was asked to intervene for the safety of the kids, and his son, as a friend of Daniel's, possibly took them somewhere, and something else happened and went wrong from there by Derwood's own statements, you know?
Yes. I think there are elements of truth in the things he has come out with. However, he's not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help him.
Right. And so when I finally got the vision on DT show, I'd never seen his son. I'm like, oh my God, same physical build, dark brown, almost black, long hair.
Mm-hmm.
And it is his uncle Larry's barn, for the love of God, that black barn. So
Yeah.
no wonder why
I've been trying to find the correlation between Melvin Lawrence and Darren, like how exactly they are exactly connected, because I did do the lineage between his Darren's great, I guess it would be his grandparents. So I've trying to figure out, and it does become very complicated with marriages and deaths, remarriages, and that sort of thing. Even just with Darren and his own life. But
so
yes,
would it not have been his brother, Melvin?
I can't find it being his brother. I'm more likely to think it's a cousin.
Okay.
But I have come across another Larry in my research, but I'm not going to bring that up on the show. But I have come across another Larry who happens to possibly be a friend, it looks like, of Darren's, but
oh
not
my
a
God.
relative.
And does he own a barn?
Probably, I would think, but a lot of people in Nova Scotia have a barn. So
yes.
I don't want to jump to conclusions. Then there's a lot
okay,
of.
let me ask you
I
this.
have a barn, and
I know. Let me ask you this: does anybody have barns with rams?
Oh, yeah, we know who that is, Wayne.
But is that for real? Because I'm laughing because it's like, I'm Canadian. We don't have rams in Eastern Canada.
Oh, I know. I don't know. There's some things that come to mind when I hear that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Cindy, yes, my vision of Brad was during a live when he was busting into the trailer and showing Malaya an invoice of something. And I described him on the live. I'm like, he looks like Prince Harry, but bigger, older, balding at the top, red beard, red. And then I see the vision of Brad that's on DT show, the picture of him. I'm like, oh my God, that was him. So what those mean, I don't know. But what we want to talk about now, I just wanted to give you a bit of background. What I want to talk about now is the blankets.
I mean, I wonder if that could be proverbial showing receipts.
Well, he was.
He's showing you receipts, Malaya. This is what happened. Here's the receipts. Kind of thing.
Maybe. I interpreted it like she owed him money, but I don't know. Like she had car issues. He's in the car theft business, from what I understand. I don't know. A lot about Brad. I don't know a lot about him. Okay, let me ask you this, and then we're going to go into this topic that I brought up DT's video for. How do you feel? Because people on my channel have mentioned this. And then I want to show DT's live here, if we can. How do you feel? Two questions about people coming up on panels and people believing them just verbatim with their stories.
I think that's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say, because if you go back to the beginning when sort of this first started coming to light, if you go back to, like, for example, Sunny's program, or Dolly's even, or Justin's, when people were first starting to come out, there was people that were coming out, like a neighbor at one time had come out before Durwood, and had come out with some information. And I think there's always an element to rumor, but in rumors, there's elements of truth in there. And with a small town, a small area like that, bad news travels faster than good news.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, having spoken to a few people there, I think there may be more than meets the eye. And I question why it's gone quiet now with regards to Daniel and Janie, when they were so prolific out there, And the one who enticed them really to come out more was Darren. And something that always stuck with me was that Janie had said, when I spoke to Darren, it all made sense. And it made me kind of think that maybe he was the one putting things in their head, because he was the one who was told by Patty about the children 2 weeks prior. And that maybe that's where this narrative came from, because he was asked to get involved and save the children. And that maybe he was just guilty, like he felt guilty that he didn't do it, and now look what's happened, kind of thing. So I just
But I have a lot of respect for Belinda, so I'm not saying this to be negative, but like her believing in Brad Wong's carte blanche, these 2 items are mine, this one's not, that kind of thing. Like, I just don't think anybody deserves to be believed 100% at this point. I think they're like from that perspective. I just feel like some people might be too naive here.
I agree. One thing I said to Belinda way back when was, and I know I'll get flack for this, but I said, don't trust anyone but the RCMP. I said, don't trust anyone at all. Don't believe anyone. And I feel bad saying that, because maybe, Malaya is innocent. Maybe Daniel's innocent. Maybe Janie's innocent. Maybe they're all innocent. Maybe they wandered into the woods. But the way it was being pushed, it seemed as though things weren't adding up. The timeline didn't make sense, and not because people are entitled to make mistakes with in a traumatic situation. They don't always remember everything accurately, but there was key things, like when he said that he came back after searching for the kids and waited for the RCMP to arrive. And then in another statement, he said when he came back from searching for the kids, he had to pull into a different driveway because the RCMP were in the driveway. Those are 2 very different things in regards to the situation surrounding when the RCMP arrived. I think you would remember accurately if you arrived when they were there or when they weren't there.
Yeah. Well, this is it, right? And I wonder, because he has admitted to his own drug use, meth use, if that has skewed his memory, or is this a legitimate issue with honesty,
Yes, and it's like it is. It's like, who do you believe and who can you implicitly believe? Malaya has been very quiet, and my heart wants to believe that she's quiet for a reason, that she's grieving something, whether it's grieving that she believes that the children are no longer with us, or grieving the fact that she likely won't have access to her children anymore. Is hard for me to say, but I struggle with it. I struggle with, I know what my gut feelings are, but can any of us really prove our gut feelings? Like, you look statistically speaking, and
statistically, it's one of the parents, right?
Yes. And Daphne's case files and I have done a lot of case comparisons. We actually did a spreadsheet comparing this case to other cases where children have gone missing under similar circumstances. And she actually came up with an excellent app, which was like a red flag. How many red flags does the case have when you compare it to other cases where it's been proven that the parents were involved? It was said that the children wandered off, and I think this case had come up with something like 99 red flags. So
wild.
Yeah, and I wanted, like I said, I try to keep an open mind, and the best case scenario would be that Malaya was scared to death, and someone in her family knew that she was, and are hiding the children for a reason. That is the actual best case scenario.
But then why would she not just come forward and say that? Like at this point, we would know
Exactly.
that, right? We would know that.
Exactly. And I think that's what everybody grasped onto and still do, is that would be the best case scenario. And people don't want to believe that terrible things happen in small communities by the people that they know.
I love Daphne too. Tell her I said hi.
Yeah.
We're
going live in about an hour.
Okay, well, I'll be done and I'll go watch you. I'm writing a book right now. I'm writing a book, so I just want to get this book done. I'm launching next week, and then I'm going back to this full time. But yeah, no, I will watch you in a bit. And then Donna, can you put up Shenanigans link, honey? For the thank you. Can you drop a link? Can you drop your link? Okay. Well, let me pull it up.
1 second.
Let me pull it up for you. Here. You're the guest. Let's pull it up.
You should I cropped out the reading that I did for Darren Geddes, and I put it up today.
Oh, you did a reading?
I did it for entertainment purposes, but
okay.
It was I feel like you would like it.
Okay. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Hold on. Yes, no, for sure. I would. And again,
tea time on true crime with Shenanigans.
Okay, that's why it's not coming up. Okay. And you know what? This is what I tell my people all the time, and I'm not trying to disparage other YouTube true crime channels. I'm not. I don't take so we need to get your subscribers up. Tea time with Shenanigans. Tea time with Shenanigans.
It's tea time on true crime.
On true crime.
With Shenanigans. Yeah. And I like Shenanigans because that's what this case seems to be full of.
In every missing person's case. Absolutely. Okay, I've got the link. Let me get it out for everybody. Yeah, no, I agree. And I would like to see it. But again, I'm not trying to disparage other tarot readers. It's just, I also work as a medium. So for me, my work. Okay, everybody, please go subscribe to Shannon's channel here. Is that your name? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
I go by Shan.
Okay. Shan.
Shenanigans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shan. Okay. Yeah. So but my visions, it's my interpretation of them that could be wrong, not the vision, Yeah. And I mean, I've channeled countless hundreds and thousands of times and messages for friends that have lost loved ones, like look for a blue bow tie at the funeral, and sure enough, my girlfriend Jen was wearing a blue bow tie, thank you, Donna. Everybody sub up. So yeah, so it's not to disparage tarot. It's just
absolutely.
I'm letting everybody know when I talk to the police, it's about what I'm finding. It's not the tarot. That's all.
No, definitely. And I actually was only doing it to kind of bring light, like a bit of a light, airy comedy to the situation, because it's so dark. And it's been 7 months, and it is just very sad and maddening. And I kind of did it as because I'd seen I watch tarot, I watch psychics, I watch everything. And I bought the cards that I'd seen someone do. So it was like these ones here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I got my own deck coming out.
Yes. Well, I'll get them. I definitely will.
Okay.
And I wanted to just lighten the mood. And, people know what my feelings are towards Darren. And I just thought, as a laugh, I'll do one live. And it was
funny.
Uncanny. Uncanny.
Well, I have to say, the readings are pretty accurate for me too. Like I'm not dispersing them or disparaging them or discounting them. I'm just saying, for investigative work to actually report to the RCMP, I don't, that I wouldn't do.
No,
but yeah,
you can't. And again, it was for entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
it was very entertaining though. It was uncanny because from the ones I'd seen others do.
Yeah.
The same cards came up, and there's just saying.
I know.
What do you do?
Isn't that wild? I know. It's truly wild. And like, yeah. I mean, I'm still blown away because I told the RSMP things that came out later that Malaya had already tried to leave. Like all these things that I told them on May 8th. No wonder why he's listening to me. He was listening to me because everything I said on May 8th has come out to be validated later, except for where the kids are and who done it. But like the names, the barn, the Malaya was leaving, the meth, like wild. But okay. So my other question to you is, and then we're going to watch this video. For Belinda's protection, because I worry about her, having been doing other true crime cases. I just learned, and we're going to watch it now, that her investigator, Chrissy, came on DT's show here, which we're going to watch now. It's 30 minutes, to talk about.
Watched it 4 times.
And
I think she got a lot of flack because people were saying that she had said that about a blood-soaked shirt, but she doesn't say that. She doesn't come out and say blood-soaked. She says bloody shirt. So, and she admitted that she came out and said that to stir the pot. She came out with other information towards the end of that call, which I thought was more interesting than even the blanket, the shirt, and the mat. And when it came out after, if you can believe what Brad says, that the shirt and the blanket was his, but the mat was not. That was what made me think, what? And that it was found 7 kilometers up the road.
was it
On the
7?
proper, just about, I think it was like 6.08 or 6.8, something like that. From his house to there, it was almost 7, like just shy of 7, but from his burn pit to there.
Also, sorry not to interrupt you, but also out of the search parameter from the RCMP.
Well, no, that's what I thought. But I was sent some helicopter, not footage, but mapping from what the helicopter search had done.
Yeah.
And they had gone all the way up there. So the helicopters had definitely searched up in that area. So they had gone that far.
So was it planted after?
I think by looking at it, it's highly unlikely that it was there for 7 months.
Yeah, that's what exactly. It looks too fresh.
And if you can believe what Brad says, he said that he put it in his burn pit about 4 or 5 months ago.
But then it would look weathered.
Yes. So I was under the impression, like, because he hasn't said the direct circumstances around that, but I would think that if he was getting rid of stuff out of his house and he threw all of these clothes in a burn pile, it was probably in a bag, like, and that he put it in that boat maybe, or in the trailer on there. And because they could only take 4 bags a week, and we were under a burn ban at that time as well.
Right.
So we couldn't burn anything. Right. So it kind of made sense that maybe it was just in a bag waiting for eventual disposal. It looks like that yard that he had there, that's where he put all of his crap, all the stuff that he didn't want on his property hanging about, he threw over there at a site, at a mine kind of thing. And it was in a location where somebody could take something and not see it either. I did extensive looking around in the mapping and stuff. So, and it conveniently came out, which is, I'm not a big fan of convenience and coincidence. It came out during the Please Bring Me Home search, right? And that yard had recently been graded and flattened. You could still see the tire marks in the dirt. So for it to come out then, it had not been found before, for it to have 2 items of Brad Wong's that he says are his, at the same time that people are pushing a narrative that his dogs or he was involved, I find coincidence.
Somebody planted it on his behalf or to make him look bad.
I don't want to definitely say that, but I mean it's just odd to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And who owns that property? The family that owns that property as well. I was like,
Well, who would be incentivized? But the thing is, yeah, I wish
whoever
Brad would
was responsible for removing the children.
Yes, exactly. Right? Exactly. But I guess I would have liked to have seen validation from him that they like why they didn't look exposed to the elements, you know?
Yes.
But
maybe that's what DT will come out with on Saturday. You never know.
right. Okay. So my question to you, more concerned for Belinda because we
Mhm.
have followed other true crime cases. And I was concerned to learn that Belinda, in fact, it was just in this live that I learned this, which is why we're pulling up the DT thing. Because I've been in my own bubble of writing. I'm concerned that her and her private investigator are on social media, just having seen Sebastian Rogers' case and what that looks like.
Mhm.
I would encourage her, that's just my opinion, to not let Chrissy attend, I'm calling panels. But what do you think
Mhm.
about that? Is that just me being narrowly minded, just seeing how that can be a shithole? Excuse my language. It can
Yes.
just be a
Well, it
cesspool
is.
of, yeah,
It's already a circus and a cesspool as far as I'm concerned.
right.
Definitely. And it has been for a few months, many months, I think. But again, I would say to Belinda that she shouldn't trust anyone other than the RCMP. And that's hard because people of Nova Scotia already have a
A
hard
disdain.
time with
Yeah.
trusting the RCMP. But I have to reiterate the fact that there's a bad apple in every barrel, and that just because of what happened, it doesn't mean that's that all officers are the same or that all officers are incompetent or
No.
incompetent clowns, as Darren said, which just
No, absolutely not. I mean, listen, when I spoke with Mike, I really, really liked him. He just got moved off the case. And then I was given Chad. I've talked to 2 other officers since then. I'm going to tell you this because I've told my live chat this. When Mike got removed from the case a month and a half ago, I lost my SHIT because Chad was replacing him, and Chad ignored my emails for over a month. Chad was away for a month off of the tips, incoming online tips, and I went live with that because I was pissed. Okay.
right.
But he called me, I spoke with him, he apologized, and then another person, officer called me, and I'm not going to tell you which one because I don't want them to be berated. I'm just going to tell you that one of those 2 officers told me personally on the phone a month ago, they have no clue. No clue.
Which would fit with them saying that they're keeping all options open. And another reason why I don't envy them, because it is a complete SHIT show. As far as I'm concerned, it does look like there's a lot of deviousness going on. And I wonder who all has skin in this game for it to continue to be this way. And Daphne's and I were going through cases in which children just in Nova Scotia had wandered off, but they've been found.
Yeah.
Whether they survived or not, they were found.
We just did that
And
earlier. There's only him and there's only Jack and Lily and Dylan that are outstanding missing person cases, and one from 20 some years ago.
yes,
That's it.
all the other children have been found, whether they fell off a cliff, whether they nearly froze to death in the woods, whether they wandered off. Like even recently, I know they were adults, but there was 2 in New Brunswick where people had been lost in the woods, like lost in the woods, deep in the woods, and RCMP with their drone radar, heat-seeking helicopters and dogs, etc., found them. And the only thing they found is, in my opinion, only questionable boot prints, because In a small town, everyone buys their boots at Walmart. I was told today that a relative that lives not far from there cares for children, many children at times in her home, up to 12, and is very close to the pipeline. And I find that very coincidental. I could be wrong, but in a small community, when even Belinda said her other grandson had the same rain boots as Jack, what are the odds? I think pretty high. That I have 3 children myself. I've always lived in small communities, and it was very often that my girls would have the same boots as other girls, and they would have to write our names inside the boot with a black marker.
And those dinosaur boots, I mean, Dylan Eller, they come up in Dylan Eller. Like, dinosaurs are a big thing for young boys, right? So
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and every 3-year-old at a daycare would probably have those boots.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, with these mass-produced boots, they often have the same sole, you know, but a different inlay. Whereas, yeah,
Right. So that the print is very similar footprinting.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. 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 So do you think they're going to solve this? Because I'm teetering on it's getting beyond, like, if it's not solved very, very soon, I think it's going to go into not solvable. I don't want to be pessimistic, but time is running
I think
against
someone's
us.
going to slip. I think someone's going to slip if they haven't already. I think that because it's not just the local RCMP that's dealing with it, from what I've heard, there's not just major crimes, but the Ontario Provincial Police, and not just for forensics, for other reasons, for cyber, the cyber unit is intensely watching everyone. They have compiled 7 months now of information, and it takes time for them to gather intel, whether it be figuring out who had burner phones. They have to wait for that information from the towers to come through as to what phones pinged off that tower, but they will. And then they will find out where those phones came from, where they were purchased, and when they went off air.
Right.
So I have faith that they will solve it. And I also have faith that the YouTube true crime community, which people don't seem to want to believe exists, but actually well and truly exists, won't let it rest.
YouTube found Gabby Petito. YouTube found Rebecca Parks. I mean, TikTok found her body. They were missing, right? I don't know if you've heard that story. That one's appalling. That was just 2 weeks ago. So yeah, there is a space in true crime, and I think part of it is pressure on the police. No offense, RCMP.
Yes,
but I think that's part of it.
Keeping their names out there and keeping the pressure on and keeping tips coming in, because you just never know what it could be. That little bit of information could be something that solves the case that they hadn't quite heard of. And Pictou County's got a code of silence because, and this is something I've talked about as well, people don't want to talk because they don't want to be a rat and they don't want to appear like they're sided with the, and they've used these words, the PIGS, you know, and I don't even want to, I'm not even going to say that.
Derwin sounds like he can't stand the police. Like,
sorry, who?
Derwin.
Darren? Darren, oh yes. I wonder if he was on the wrong side of them, and that's why, you know. If you look at his Facebook, it's just full of, I don't want to say right-wing propaganda because that's just too much of a general term.
Yeah.
But he's very in the mind that Canada is broken, Canada is falling apart, and that the police are, you know, useless. And one of the funniest things was that he said that YouTube was like basically full of liars and you can't believe anything you see on YouTube. And then the very next post was a YouTube video that he posted about, was a poster that he posted about how Canada was falling apart. And I was like, Lord.
Make it make sense. Well, on a good
Yeah.
note, Kearney just announced that they're hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers 6 days ago. Did you see that?
I did, and I also saw that they are throwing tons of money into our defense, which they should and should have been for the last 20, 30 years. And hopefully that'll go towards our veterans as well. And I've also seen that they are looking to bring in basically a citizen army of 300,000. So it really looks like our government is trying to bolster our resources, bolster our defense, and bolster community
Engagement.
engagement. There are hiccups happening in parts of Nova Scotia with regards to our First Nations. But people like Durwood are exacerbating that, in my opinion. He's
such a racist. These people,
yes,
like, what the F is that? Don't live out that way if you're that kind of a racist pig.
I felt bad because I was like imploring Michelle Glasgow, who's like the chief of the First Nations.
I saw that to come out
and
against.
Yes. And I felt like, and then I went and did some research and I was like, she already came out and said anyone entertaining this like racist fool can basically go do one. And I was like, damn.
Well, it's like, why would they engage in that? It would have been solved eons ago if that was the case. Like, it's just, he's definitely a character that I don't love. He threatened me. I had to block him. Been threatened a couple times here, like my life, like pretty bad, by somebody that decided to give himself a name. Suspect 1. Go figure. Suspect 1.
I wonder if that's Ron Mexico.
Oh, I played the threats here. They were like, you're like it was basically, your time is coming. Like, okay.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good ones on mine, but yeah.
Okay.
I was called an entitled POS. All sorts.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I hope you're right. And with this hiring of 1,000 RCMP officers, I'm praying that Nova Scotia gets a few to help with this case, because it's not their fault. I think they're understaffed in that location for this case. And that's why the online tips were not being monitored for a month, because, Chad had a holiday and then he had to go on course. And it's not his fault. But you can't solve
the
missing person
rotation
cases when you don't have staff on the online tips,
Yes, I know that they have a lead investigator, but I would say that it is a bit discouraging to have so many officers kind of transition in and out. And I hope that that is a reason. There's a reason behind that, and I feel like there probably is.
I was wondering the same thing.
I'm just
why did they remove Mike from the why?
I do know there was another officer that was monitoring online tips. Charmaine had put something up about on her page, but and it wasn't the same name. It wasn't Mike.
No,
can't remember offhand who it was, and it wasn't Chad either. But I mean, with 800 tips, you would certainly hope there's just not one that's trying to chase those up,
Yeah.
And how many of them were because, like 300 of them were probably from freaking Durwood because of him being on there saying the kids were in the reserve. When you think about all the stories he told, it was like Cindy, and it was Haley, it was Cheryl, it was Hayden, it was the native CPS came in and went into the trailer, and they must have gone in the trailer because Jack couldn't reach the code. And that they're where they should be, and he's happy, and can he just have proof of life? And Lord.
I know. He's obnoxious. I really have a hard time listening to him. Like, he's the kind of person, when you listen to him, it's like the nails on the chalkboard. Like, I just get oogie feelings. Like for me, he has that effect on me more than Daniel. Like, it's weird.
Yes, me as well. There's another guy in this case that has that same effect on me as well, more than Daniel. At
Really?
least Daniel can have the illusion of being sensible.
Jeez. Oh, well, listen, if you want, you can stick around. You're more than welcome. We're going to listen to this because I am just concerned. Somebody reached out to Belinda's lawyer, and I emailed her just because they thought that maybe I should be involved. It's like, but I don't need to be involved, but I am concerned that they should not be, the lawyer and her investigators should not be on YouTube shows. I need content. Like, they're not talking. There's not a lot to talk about, but I still don't think they should be calling in. I worry about that for them and for the integrity of the case. That's just me. But
I feel that, yeah, sorry.
No, go.
I feel like there must be a reason behind it. And she did bring out new names that were involved. And by doing so, that makes more people come forward about those names and what they might know, what they might be affiliated with. And I did find it very unusual that her witness placed those two people near the blanket.
Oh, I heard you talking about this. I think you talked about this on your last live, right? The two names,
Yeah.
family members. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I've been doing a lot of research into them. And I know it's a small town and a small place, but weird. Again, I'm not a huge fan of coincidences, and they seemed like an incredibly loyal family. And not saying they were involved, but they would be loyal.
Well, that's what I keep getting. And I keep getting that with the tarot. Like, there's an element of, we're sticking together with our story here.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be cracked. There's
Yes.
an element of that the police have not cracked. There's this
Yes.
camaraderie. We're going to stick by it together. And
Yeah.
that
They were referred to as the Mackenzies,
Mhm.
the Mackenzie boys.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I think maybe there's something to that. But I could be wrong. That's
Well-
speculation and opinion only, allegedly.
Yeah. And that's why I've got this publicly broadcasted, ongoing on all my chats, ongoing. Because we learned this with Bullhorn Betty and Sebastian Rogers when they tried to take her
Mhm.
to court. That even is still, if you don't know, even your chat can be liable. You can be liable for what's put in your chat. So that's why I've
Mhm.
got here. It's just the opinion, just to protect everybody, because you just don't, some people think it's an opinion and others think it's like verbatim, like you have to be careful.
Yes. Yes. No, everything I have is opinion with a tinge of sarcasm.
Yeah.
And a bit of parody.
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of parody, people were mad at me on this show, but I loved when Mike did the Janie's Got a Rake song.
Oh, yes. Well, Wolfie, I don't know if you know him. He's done a new song on the parody of, the song But I Got High. So it was, I was going to clean my trailer, but I got high. I was going to walk my dog, but then I got high. And he was doing that in my chat. And I was like trying to be serious. And oh, man. Oh,
Well,
man.
It's too hard.
But you know what?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh sometimes, because it is just such a dark subject. And like, I always worry that I'm gonna come across as like being rude or insensitive, but I've always kind of dealt with stress and like traumatic situations with inappropriate humor. So
Well, that's how you get through. I mean, I'm like you. I
Yes.
feel like you and I are similar in some ways. That's why I was like, I love our vibe, because people were offended that I was laughing and I played it twice because I'm like, I don't care if you're offended. I still laugh when I think about that song. And coming from Mike, who's so serious, it was so fun.
Yes. Well, it was a sensitive subject for her. You know, she was raking, then she wasn't raking. She was filling in potholes. She wasn't filling in potholes. She was getting a pool. She wasn't getting a pool. I was gonna put up a pool, but I got high. Oh gosh. See?
I thought it was July, but I got high. I was raking for a pool until I got high and thought it was July.
See, even homicide detectives laugh at crime scenes, okay? So it's allowed. It's allowed.
It's allowed. Well, that to me is the funniest story. I mean, who believes that you were raking in May? I mean, you live out that way. There's
For a
no way in
pool.
hell you're putting a pool out in Nova Scotia in
It was
May.
-2 that night. Like,
So what were you raking? And like the RCMP knew that right away. Like that had to have set some red flags, alarms for them in the very beginning.
yes,
And like,
because it was a neighbor that said she was filling potholes. A neighbor had driven by, if you remember, the first story that came out was that she was filling potholes. And then a lot of people were like, what is she filling in the driveway? And there was like a lot of speculation, like what was buried in the driveway or something like that.
yeah.
But then it turned into she was raking. And then it turned into she was raking out an area in front of her mud bath to put in a freaking pool. And I was like, really? Is that for Fluffy or for the kids that she's not going to have there?
Yeah, in front of the kids who don't like the dogs barking. Make that make sense.
Yeah.
They're going to put the kids right beside where the dogs are going to bark, right in the mud instead of on your lawn. Like, make that make sense.
In the fenced in area where it should be. Like, it just, yeah, nope. Or even
the front lawn. Like, if they're going to make a makeshift fence with holes in it, you could do that just as easily in the front lawn where there's grass. Why would you do it in the laneway? I mean, it makes no sense.
And there was, and him saying the fence was done, and it wasn't done.
No, it was full of holes. And not only that,
he said they went through the gate. There was no damn gate.
You mean they crouched through the hole?
Yeah, they just slid through the opening that was there. That I don't know.
I know. It's wild. But she's never come out to change that storyline other than she wasn't raking when she looked like dumb for saying she was raking in May. Yeah, the whole thing is like raking in May. The ground would have been rock hard, Shannon, right?
Yeah.
Shannon?
Yeah, like that's how I don't know how they got the boot prints either. Was that like I struggle a little bit with it because somebody made a really good point about wouldn't it need to be like quite soft for the prints to have been made? Yes. And early in the morning it's cold and late at night it's cold. And I mean, there were nice days, but there was no other prints apparently found around there. And there was muddy divots from four-wheelers tracks going up and down that. And the only way that the wandered off theory works is if they wandered off down that path. They would have stuck to the path of least resistance and kept going down that path until no end, right? But it was just a clump of prints. And they said 2 different sizes, right? But they've only clarified that one matched Lily's. They haven't clarified that the other set matched Jack's. You know, and I'm a big look, I super analyze things. I have an issue with probably over analyzing everything, down to body language and head movement and all those sort of things. So when they didn't come out and say the other prints matched Jack's because they had gone to the Walmart and got the receipt and got the SKU number and matched it to Lily's, it made me think, well, the other ones didn't match Jack's because they would have said they matched Jack's. Yeah. They would have said they both prints, you know, yeah. So.
Well, I've contemplated with this too, because the chances of 2 kids, like, is also very uncommon. So I've thought about, and we've talked about, could one of them have had an accident where they were unalived in error, and so one was removed for that and the other taken away?
I also thought that very much in the beginning, that Lily was poking her head round to say something's wrong with Jack, something's wrong with Jack. And then because she was such a spunky, verbal child who she would have said something. They couldn't send her back to school. They couldn't do anything. They would have said, Jackie, this happened to Jackie and he didn't wake up. And so they moved Lilly so that part of it is true. You know, I've thought all sorts of things.
Well, that would be plausible too, because that would totally make sense. And that would involve Daniel and Malaya. Let's just say hypothetically, little Jackie gets into the meth cooking, you know, that look like treats.
While he was wrestling in the kitchen.
Has an OD accident. And then now you got Malaya that has to cover for both because she's negligent for allowing it while they're in bed, not getting up out of bed.
And Daniel would have definitely emphasized that you're in it just as bad as I am. And if I go down, you're going down with me.
Yeah, so that's possible. One is unalived and buried somewhere, and the other was sent away. That's also possible. Totally possible.
I think I am, like I said, I find that more time goes by and more searches that have happened, and the only stuff that comes up is apparently unrelated to the children, other than the one set of footprints and a blanket placed ever so gently on a
tree.
And if that was Lily's blanket, and she would have just dragged it along the ground behind her rather than putting it in a blanket ever so carefully.
Now, I told the police in my vision that I had the vision that somebody walked them for a little bit and then they were taken by the ATV the rest of the way. Maybe I got that reversed. Maybe they were taken by ATV somewhere and then they got off and were picked up, you know, hence the prints. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, like, because why is there one?
Could a car go down there though, as well? Because when you look at it, it's possible a 4-wheel drive vehicle that was like, say, a Jeep, higher off the ground, larger tires. You know, off-roading is a thing. People off-road all the time, especially in that area. It's a huge, going mudding is a huge cultural thing. So could someone in a big old truck drive up there with four-wheel drive? Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%, 1,000%. Because I think my vision was them in the pipeline, because it wasn't like, it looked like barn, like hay, like tall grass, like in those pipelines where they're, you know what I mean? It's a little less kept. And anyway, I hope we get resolution. I hope you're right. And I hope
I think we will. And I think no matter what anybody feels about the RCMP, I think as a community, no one's gonna let this one go. I think it was different with Dylan because of the proximity directly to a high flowing water. And no one really believing. And the highly unlikely that the grandmother only turned around for 18 seconds. I think nobody actually believes that. No offense, in my opinion. That is just, there was a Jeep in that creepy mechanic shop. I wouldn't doubt it.
We had Bert's towing towards the bus driver. I was just trying to figure it out, and Mike validated that it was his towing company. So we were on there looking at it, and I have a lot of sensitive empaths and psychics on this channel, and a lot of us got really sick when we went towards towing, just looking at it online, like nauseously, like physically sick. So, but I still don't think, I think maybe evidence might have been there or something might have happened a long time ago, but I don't think the bus driver did. I just don't feel that vibe from him. But
no, I think that he was convenient to a convenient target, especially in light of what his brother was charged with. So I think that was very convenient. And how convenient was it to combine Brad Wong and the Ward family in one?
Yes. The Brad,
in one go.
But that, I hope that causes pause for the RCMP to say, okay, if they're trying to now plant evidence to steer this in the direction, like that, I hope that just shows more evidence of collusion,
Yeah.
lie. Like this
Yeah.
is not the
Nefarious.
narrative. Yes, this is not the narrative
Yes.
of the kids walked out the door when you're
Mhm.
now allegedly, potentially, hypothetically taking evidence to plant somewhere else.
Mhm.
That's not the kids walking out the back door. No one wouldn't be motivated to do that if the kids just walked out the
Mhm.
back door. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that will be, possibly another angle that they're going to look at. Like, who was motivated to do this? Somebody
Mhm.
that, in my opinion, somebody that said that there was a towel ripped from their garbage bag and half of it was left on a tree. If you're the only one whose garbage was picked through, then it would be likely you picked through your own garbage versus someone else. But now if there's more than one garbage picked through, it looks like maybe somebody else came into the area, picked through multiple garbages and now planted multiple, like that's the thinking
Yes.
I'm thinking the person had who did this.
Yes. Not realizing that we all have heard and believe now that that other half a blanket was on the railing and
And
not in the
planted.
garbage after all. Yes.
Yes. And planted. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, there's just so much, right? There's so much. And if people haven't been here since day one, looking at all of it unravel and all the different elements that have come into it, like there is just so much. And I don't know, there's just so much.
I know.
There's so much there. And I think the sentence of the century is make it make sense. Like
I
make
know.
it make sense.
Yeah, so many lies. I know. Yeah, so I'm going to play this. You're welcome to stay. I know you're doing a
I will
live.
actually head off
Okay,
actually because
perfect. Okay.
me and Daphne's are going on in like
Yeah.
23 minutes.
That's what I thought. So I'm going to play this and then I'm going to jump in and show you. Everybody here, please, there's 51 of you, please subscribe to Shannon's channel. The link is here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate getting to know you. And anytime you want to do so, let me know. I'd love to.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
just-
same here. Come and find me. And yeah, I'd love to spend more time because I can talk this case all day, every day, all
Me
day,
too.
every day.
But I feel like if we could get some of our evidence together, some of us in a back room, even we might even get more. Like it's just you've got information that I don't have. If we could all collaborate, it might be easier. But I know that's not realistic. But a few of us.
I have said that. I have said that to many creators. Let's work together rather than against each other. And with all the information and all the people that have contacted different creators in the background, like there's something there. There's something there. And I don't think anybody should ever be afraid of calling in a tip either. Because you just never know. You just never know what could break it open or could lead where to find the children in whatever the circumstances were.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know from Kelly Snyder, who's the founder of the Find Me group, he was a Secret Service agent. He's in the US, but for 20 some years, like he brought down drug cartels. Like he was undercover for 7 years with brought down major political crime units back in the 80s and 90s and founded the Find Me group 25 years ago. And he is very, he's a police officer, retired officer. So I know from his way of thinking and what he's taught, is never leave a stone unturned until you get to the answer. Like it doesn't matter how implausible it might be. you gotta go down every route until the evidence aligns you with one route. And this walking out the back door, there's no evidence for it. It's time that narrative is not pushed, in my opinion. There's zero evidence to support that at this point in time,
There has been nothing found, nothing that belongs to them. No diaper. Like we all know, anyone who's had children, if Jack slept in that pull-up all night, he would have walked for maybe half an hour at most before his thighs started chafing, and he would have ripped that bugger off and thrown it.
And there would have been urine. There would have been urine dripping out of the diaper overfilled on the laneway and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I just don't see it.
I'm going to ask you one last question because you got to go. What do you think this reference to the fifth wheel is the night before? I think it's an ATV. Other people are saying it could be a fifth 5-speed car. To me, to hear something so different sounds like an ATV to me. But what do you think? Like the way it was described by a neighbor as a fifth wheel.
5-speed.
5-speed. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if we believe Brad Wong, he knows his vehicles. He works on vehicles, and he said he knew whose vehicle it was. He knew exactly what color it was. And for someone who, I live in a rural area, and I know what all my neighbors' cars look and sound like. And the ones that have like the loud muffler, if they have a 5-speed, like it sounds like, and then you would have the like the big exhaust in the back too. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
if that's the case, if we're believing what he's saying, and he was very emphatic about the name and the make of the vehicle, that I think that a four-wheeler sounds different than
Okay.
a 5-speed car,
Because
even if the
go ahead. Sorry.
even if the muffler had a hole in it and it
Okay.
was like, and it was loud.
Yeah.
The engine of an ATV or four-wheeler or trike, however you want to call it, every place calls it something different. It sounds different. It's like it's usually like a diesel powered engine versus like a gas powered engine. It's a four-wheeler is much rougher in its sound.
Okay.
And the gears are you hear them more than they're more noticeable than
Okay.
a car. And he said that he saw the lights coming and going, right? And then that vehicle was no longer around after that.
And whose vehicle did he see? I don't, because at the beginning, I'm just doing my visions and my psychic stuff. I deliberately don't want to be swayed. So I stay away from the facts until I've come up with my own theory. And then now I'm okay with the facts, but I didn't even hear what kind of vehicle did he describe?
He said it was a Kia hatchback, black.
Which wasn't owned by any of the family members.
Oh, it was, but not Daniel.
Malaya?
No.
Janie?
No.
Earl?
No.
His brother? Justin?
No.
Who?
Allegedly, speculation, it was Ron's wife's.
Ron's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Ron?
But I can't.
Ron?
I don't know
Who's
if that's
Ron?
his uncle, Janie's brother that lives up the road.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
But that goes along with the other theory we just talked about, doesn't it? About the Mackenzies?
Mm.
Is there a connection? Who
I don't
knows?
know. Like, there's just, like I said, there's just so much. There's just so much. I don't know if that's 100% sure, but that's.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I mean,
Everybody
the whole family lives around there. All
I
of the
know.
family lives around there.
How do you
And
live in squalor and own so much land? I don't get that either, but that's another conversation.
and I've always been a person that believes you can have nothing, but you can take care of the stuff that you have, and I've had nothing.
Me
And
too. Trust me.
I've had nothing, and I always cared for my things. And now I'm like OCD with, I want everything in its place. I like things in their place, and I like the way I like things. And to me, it's just hard because to see living conditions like that, because to me, a cluttered space is a cluttered mind, and you can't focus or relax, or that's just me. I can't focus and relax if I'm surrounded by chaos.
Yeah no, I get it. Well, I
But
hope
everybody's different.
yeah well, I hope they find these kids. I mean, at the very least, I just think they've both openly admitted to negligence. At the very least, if they can bring charges for negligence, because these kids walked away because they both admitted to going back to sleep. If that's the narrative, there's negligence, period. And I wish they would do that, because I think they might start talking.
I think so too. That a minimum, that it would be negligence. If the walking off theory is accurate, then at a minimum they are
negligent. Yep.
Negligent. However, the fact that they haven't been charged with that tells me a bit more and again, that could be just me hyper-analyzing things, but what isn't done and what isn't said almost means more to me than what has been said and what has
No,
been done.
no, I agree. I'm just thinking from a tactic, like we've seen it
Like,
done in Melody Buzzard. You know, they brought, I don't know if you followed that case. Like we've seen
Yeah.
it done recently where they bring them
Mhm.
in for something unrelated and then push them and pressure them, and then they, lo and behold, there's a confession.
Yes. Well, here our laws are so different from in the States
I know.
that they would probably just get, like, if you brought someone in for a neglect charge or even child abuse charge, they'd probably be out by the Monday if they went in on the Friday. And like,
I know, but I can't even tell you the case because my daughter works at CHEO, right? She's an ER nurse. She was a charge nurse at CHEO. She runs a clinic there now, so I cannot say. But there was another case in the media, and the mom was charged. They did charge the mom with neglect recently.
right.
So, yeah. So I mean, it can be done,
Yes.
but you're right. If it's going to hold up, I wish they would do more. Because to me, it feels like we're slipping into, if this is not solved soon, it's just getting into that. It's going to be like, we're in 7 months now. We're getting into
Sorry,
the
my
cold.
dog's whacking her tail.
Yeah, I
on
gotta
the
let you
wall.
go. Yeah. We're getting into the no crimes solution zone, to the no solution
Yeah,
zone.
no, I do. I am hopeful, and I believe honestly that the RCMP know more than we do, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that they're just.
Well,
I think I think as much as I want them to come out and say something, I
they're not going to.
want justice for them more than I need
Yeah.
my own validation, I guess.
They're not going to come out and say something. Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
And nor should they.
No,
But
the quieter they are, the harder they're working, I think.
Yeah. No. I just think, I just worry about what was said to me in the one conversation a month ago. And that worries me. If that is factual, then that scares me, but anyway.
That would scare me as well. But I'm hoping that maybe that's just one person's opinion.
Well, I'm hoping it was to keep me quiet because I was shit talking them in the moment because I was pissed off with Chad Spears' response rather, on why it was unmanned for a month, the tips. And he came on, he called me while I was live. I said, I'm live. He goes, I know, I owe you an apology. So I was talking to him during the live. But anyways,
I was to show you they're watching though.
Oh, sure.
They're watching.
They sure were. They sure are.
Yeah.
So I hope that was just to keep me, I don't know what it was said for. I'm not even saying that's who it was. I've talked to 3 different officers. I just saying, I hope you're right. So listen, I love you for coming on. I really enjoyed meeting you. I hope we can do this again. Gonna let you go. Taking up enough of your time. You've got a live show. We're gonna watch this quickly.
In 12 minutes.
Yes, go. And then thanks. Bye, Shannon. Thank you, honey. Bye.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Good luck with the rest of your live. Okay. Bye.
Bye. We're gonna just be on here for another 30 minutes, everybody, because we're gonna watch this. And then if you want to go watch Shannon on Daphne's in 20 minutes, then do that. So let's just get through this. I want to watch. This is where Pissy. My God. Sorry, Chrissy. I'm looking at the title, P.I. Chrissy, and put it together. Do you think I'm tired? Or P.I. Chrissy calls in to DT about what was found on. That was so nice of her to come on. I love her perspective. Donna's laughing. Oh, sorry, Chrissy. God love you. Chrissy came on and called DT show. We're going to listen to this and then we're going to wrap it up and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Let's listen to this.
Perfect. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, just living the dream out here, like everyone else. But
I love her.
I just wanted to say thanks so much for all your coverage and everything that you do. It's totally appreciated out here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. What are your thoughts? Which case are you following? Jack, Lilly, or both?
Right now, I'm following the Jack and Lilly case. I'm looking into it on behalf of the lawyer, Daleen Thomas.
Okay.
And I just found it really interesting during this whole case that it's been like project obstruction, with both sides attacking one another and getting in the way of information, withholding things, the attacks, the cyberbullying. It's just kind of gotten to a point now where I'm questioning what the whole objective of that is. Do you have any ideas?
Well, I know that when there's no answers, people will start to fill in the blanks. And oftentimes when they don't have
Thank
the
you,
answers and they
Shannon.
start to fill in the blanks, they fill
Thank
them in
you.
wrong. And it's not uncommon for family members to turn on each other. There was a case out here in San Antonio, a pregnant young lady. She was supposed to go get induced and goes missing the day before her induction with her boyfriend. A lot of people jumped to a lot of conclusions and thought that the boyfriend had done something to her and the baby. Weeks go by, they end up finding out that they are, as they were missing, weeks go by, they end
Please, everybody, please go subscribe to Shannon's channel here. The link is right here for you if you haven't done so already. Thank you.
up being found both shot in the back of a vehicle.
Oh dear.
And up until that point, both sides of the family started blaming each other. The female side of the family was blaming hardcore on the male side of the family because he had some drug stuff in his past and whatnot. And when the truth came out, it was both of them. They both were involved. In fact, she was the one that set up a drug run, a drug buy. They went out there, a scuffle ensued, and they both got taken out execution style.
Oh no.
Yeah. But during that time frame, the families, because there was no answers and because there was red flags here or red flags there, those things were magnified in the absence of answers to fill in those blanks, and families just completely turned on each other. And in this case, you have Daniel and Malaya that are turning on each other. And for me, that's what you want. If you're an investigator, you want your suspects to turn on each other. You want to separate them and isolate them and make sure they don't talk, which is what they did to themselves. Malaya left Daniel, blocked him on all things. And I'm sure law enforcement were egging her on. I guarantee you law enforcement were egging her on because they wanted to maintain the separation of that relationship, because they didn't want them to come together and have an alibi, clear up something and have a story straight. And so they did it for them. And then they've turned on each other. And here recently, I've even heard where Malaya's side of the family, like within the family, are turning on each other as well. And again, this is because there's not answers. And so until there's some sort of answer or anything like that, I feel that we're probably going to see a lot of people turn on each other.
True. I have one last question, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead. We don't have anybody else on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I have it under good knowledge that there was some evidence found in the beginning near the waterfalls, and it was found by a volunteer search person who notified the RCMP, and then the RCMP went and collected it. And I have a picture of the RCMP officer along with the vehicle that they were driving.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering why the police have now reported that it's lost. And my other one is follow-up is
What?
that Belinda Gray had actually indicated to us that there was a sweater wrapped in a towel that was also located on the search date that PBMH went out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually sent someone to go collect it and bring it to Major Crimes, who met them immediately and did pick it up. We've also never heard any word on that. I'm just wondering where all this missing evidence is going.
That is
Yeah, no,
wild.
in
Where?
an open investigation, we
What?
probably aren't going to hear about everything. Now, I do know in the RCMP documents, they reference a few other items that were found out there during the initial search and that they had no relevance. The media had stated that there was some items found, including a blanket, I believe, and that the RCMP comment to them was that they were not related. And that was referencing the Please Bring Me Home search.
Okay, but here's my issue with that. My issue with that was it's not for the RCMP, in my opinion, nor is it for any parent, in my opinion, to look at something that was found in the search area and deem it not relevant until it had been tested with DNA. Period. That's just my opinion. I think that is an epic failure on their part to be dismissing what could be evidentiary. And this blanket, towel, and sweater are exactly proving my point. Who was motivated to drop them off there 7 months after the kids go, 6 months, let's just say, because that's when Please Bring Me Home was there. They absolutely have an obligation to not be calling, in my opinion, or texting Malaya, in my opinion, or Daniel, or anybody in the family, did this belong to the kids? What if those kids were placed in other clothing? It's not for them to just rule out. So anyways, that's enough said on this. Let's keep listening.
I believe it was the blanket, but I don't, it doesn't sound like anything has come up since the initial search of any relevance
It's
to
exactly
the case, which can be concerning. But
They're
I also think that
suspects.
when
They
I
should be
looked at
suspect.
where majority of the search was happening,
I mean, okay, this is what irritates me about this. This was a month ago. I know, Cindy, honey, I'm only through 30 minutes. So I'm going to try not to talk. But this part really effing annoys me, okay? They should be suspects, not to be believed at this point in time. Like, why are you giving the parents, the ones responsible for the disappearance of their own kids, whether you want to call it deliberate responsibility or negligently responsible, they are the main suspects and should be in any missing child case. We know that statistically. So why are we allowing them to tell us what's relevant in the search for their kids and not relevant? Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I know, Cindy, I'm going to keep playing. Don't you worry.
It seemed like they were covering a lot of the same spots that ground and search and rescue team had already searched and covered tremendously. In fact, I think somebody had commented about the sheer amount of pink ribbons that were out there. Now, I'm not familiar with anything underneath the cliff. And this picture, if you don't mind sending me that, I would really be interested in seeing that, because I'm not familiar with that finding.
Are you talking about the bloody sweater that was wrapped in a towel?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that was outside the PBMH search area, actually.
Okay.
It was actually notified to PBMH, but they didn't care to go and collect it. They said that it was of no value to them as far as they knew. So that's why we had actually sent somebody to go collect it ourselves.
That's my point. And it's not to blame the Please Bring Me Home. They texted to the RCMP, and the RCMP's appointed person texted to Malaya, from what I understand. And Malaya said, no, it's not theirs. Who are you to decide? Who is Malaya to decide whether it's relevant or not? This is a missing person case. And you're going to take the parents' opinion of this verbatim? That tells me the RCMP are still following the narrative that they believe these parents, that the kids simply walked out the back door because they didn't think it important enough to collect evidence that was found on the scene by Please Bring Me Home. Yes, that's why I love Shannon. I think she's amazing. I'd love to collaborate with her again. I just feel a little less optimistic about the RCMP, because if they were truly investigating this still under another narrative than the kids walked out the back door, I think their answer to collecting things that were found by Please Bring Me Home would have been different. It would have been, don't text us, just bring in anything you find. It would have been different. It would have been different.
To submit it, because I don't understand under what authority any kind of anything around there wouldn't be something to be looked at.
I don't disagree with you. I think it should have been. I didn't know there was blood on it too. That's interesting.
Well, I can't guarantee you it's blood, but it certainly looked like blood.
Understood. Yeah, if you have information or images of that, if you don't mind sending it to my email at drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com, I'd love to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not familiar with that. And my goal has always been to be accurate, as accurate as I possibly can. That's why even when, like, for instance, things that have come out that maybe don't make, certain people look in the best light, like Daniel, I'm not hidden from those things. I've been the one that have broken many of the things that that don't look good. And that's because of what he's told me. And, at the end of the day, I just kind of think that RCMP's investigation is pretty thorough. But if there's more to it, I'd be definitely interested. How far outside of this? I'm not familiar. Where was this found? Was it a child's sweater?
No, it was a woman's sweater, and it was, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a gray type sweater, like a sweatshirt sweater type with a cheetah print.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
They never mentioned anything about that, which is fine. We've already submitted it. Major Crimes came right away. They seemed interested, so that was great.
Oh, well, good. That's good. But they seemed interested after they dismissed it. They seemed interested after they dismissed it. It was only up to Belinda and her people to collect. Had Belinda not hired Chrissy, who we're listening to right now, Please Bring Me Home, we're told it wasn't relevant. Do you see the problem I'm talking about here? This is the problem. The same narrative seems to be aligned in the RCMP's investigation methodology in this moment, in this time, a month ago. We don't need that. It's not relevant. What the TF? Ugh. It's just maybe, Michelle, maybe. But if you've got a suspect and you're going to court, you need every effing piece of evidence you can get. So it still doesn't bode for that theory. I agree. I hear what you're saying, but there's no way, shape, or form. I'm going to try to be open-minded, but there is no way you're going to convince me right now at this point in time that there was any justifiable reason to say no to please bring me home. We don't need it. None, in my opinion. None.
You know, I wonder about the police's work with this just to an extent. I mean, I respect them. I love them. I appreciate them. I work with them often. But my question is that, so there was a witness that has come forward that actually states being on Lansdowne Station Road Lansdowne Road, and they actually were stopped by a vehicle, two vehicles. One was identified as Elvin McKenzie, and the other person, one of the occupants of the second vehicle, was named as Jenna Jowdry. So when this witness went to the police with the information, they didn't really do anything about it. But I'm just wondering, given the fact that they pulled him over in order to check this evidence that they found at 10:45 in the morning on May 2nd, and yet that item was not reported as found until after 3:21 by a girl named Emily Ogley. So why didn't they report these items found at 10:45 in the morning and head in the other direction rather than go to the house and report it? Why did nobody ever hear about it till late in the afternoon?
I don't know. Like I said, this is the first time I've heard about any of this.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's been distorted between all this project obstruction that has been going on between these camps. And it is quite frustrating trying to run an investigation when you have 20,000 other investigators competing for that spot. So,
right.
You know,
so run that by me again. Somebody got pulled. McKenzie, which McKenzie got pulled over?
No, it wasn't a McKenzie that got pulled over. It was our witness.
Okay.
Was driving down the road, heading to a fishing spot, I believe, and happened to notice these people on the side of the road. Slowed down. They flagged them down. The girl said, "We found a shirt." He's seen her run out of the bushes towards the vehicle. And then she said, "Oh, we found a shirt down here," and told them that they were family from Truro and they were out looking for the missing kids. Well, the witness had never heard of any missing kids or anything like that at that point. So was curious, went and looked at the shirt that was placed ever so nicely over the top of a little pine tree. And then those guys ended up departing ways. But when they left in the complete opposite direction of the house on Gerlach. And then later on, I'm checking the court documents, finding out that Emily Ogley reported finding these items, and her timestamp on her photo for those items was at 3:21 p.m. But those items were discovered at 10:45 a.m. We have a witness statement.
Gotcha.
So I don't understand that.
I don't either. That's interesting. I mean, at 10:45 a.m., that's super early.
Right.
That's like the police didn't even arrive there. They just arrived at Gerlach Road for I don't know, 12 minutes already at that point. I think they got there at 10:27.
Precisely.
And so, now if it was, I guess, a McKenzie, I mean, where did that name come from? I know you mentioned it.
Because unlike the police, I actually made sure that my team supplied this witness with a complete photo lineup of anybody and everybody we could compile that could possibly be related to the case. And after numerous selections, they did finally pick out Elvin McKenzie as one of the drivers of a silver Civic 4-door, and Jenna Jowdry was hanging out the back of a dark-colored sedan.
Okay.
They were confidently identified by a very valid source.
And has this source spoken to law enforcement?
Yes. Everything that I'm stating to you has been forwarded to law enforcement at the time that all these claims were made, but nothing's been followed up and everything's just been kind of lost in the mail.
Gotcha. And where was and how far away was this from Gerlach Road?
Well, you know where sorry, not to cut you off. Sorry, hon.
It's okay.
You know where the T-shirt was found along with the blanket?
I don't. I'm not. I know where one blanket was found, just the one that was in question.
Blanket, sorry, on the tree.
Yeah, the one on the tree. I'm familiar with. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one was found.
So that's right where it was.
Okay.
I can send you the logistics to all that as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd like to look at that. Because I know that the blanket was found just shortly before 4:00 by, I believe it was family members of Malaya's.
Correct. Emily Ogley and I believe Haley. Emily Ogley was the girlfriend to Hayden. She was staying with Patty and had actually come to the search with Patty from Truro.
So did Haley also see this sweater with potential blood on it?
I don't believe so. That was collected independently. So what happened was PDMH had different search teams designated to whatever areas. Pardon me.
Okay.
And there was a couple participants who weren't able to make the terrain. So they just kind of scouted off on their own. And they ended up coming across it, taking pictures, phoning it in. And then nobody wanted to do anything with it. But when it was brought to our attention, I thought, well, no, it's in that area. So I think, it's worth having a look at.
Yeah, I agree, Chrissy. Yeah. Jesus. See, again, Chrissy's just confirming my thoughts. I'm sorry to say, it's not that I dislike the RCMP, but I really am not impressed with the way they've handled this case. I've said it openly more than once on this channel. Other than Mike Wilson, I'm not impressed.
Just to have a look at least.
Mhm.
And then when it was opened up and looked at, it was like, okay, that might be blood. So how about we just send it in?
Right. Well, I would assume, this is a big assumption, but I would assume that it would have been tested. And I know that they've gotten
Okay, but
toothbrushes or
DT, see, this is, and I love DT, but he's also so negative. He's so naive, rather. I assume it would be tested. I think he's way too naive. Love him. When it comes to the RCMP, he's not Canadian, to think that everything was tested. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe they've tested everything if they didn't even want the evidence at the beginning. It really makes me mad. These are 2 missing kids, and this was found in the general search area. It needs to be tested, period, 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 in my opinion.
some sort of stuff
Period.
from Jack and Lily to match for DNA. So there should be a easy way to determine whether or not that was blood, that it belonged to them or not. And that would determine whether or not the blood was related to somebody of theirs. And that doesn't mean Daniel, obviously. So if Daniel cut himself or something happened to Daniel and he bled on something, he himself told me they have never asked for his DNA. He believes.
See, he's proving my point. They've never taken the family member's DNA. What the TF? They have not followed the narrative that this is suspicious in their behavior. Period. Their behavior has not been in alignment with this is suspicious at all.
They have his DNA because he's drinking cups and things like that during interrogations and stuff like that, but they've never swabbed him himself. But if it was like Malaya's, if it was somebody else who was related to them,
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, hey, that's their decision. I have seen it become an SHIT show when the PI comes out. We've seen this with Tony. It didn't bode well for Sebastian Rogers, but that's not me. It's not my decision. It's Malaya's, or rather Belinda's lawyer, Liane and Chrissy. If they feel differently, that's totally their prerogative. And as Shannon says, maybe there was a different alternative. I just think it's a bad move just from past experience, but maybe they want to spend time sending this narrative out there that there has been an SHOW. It's been a complete investigation of efferees. And maybe that's the point they're trying to make here. And I completely agree with that.
there would be some sort of like somewhat of a match.
Yes, that's my point.
So
maybe that's the point.
It's interesting. I wonder about it. I had heard that they had found other items. Now, I was familiar with the sweater. I was not familiar with it being any possible blood on it. I was familiar with, I think, a shirt, another piece of blanket, a separate pink blanket that wasn't apparently associated with anything, and some bottled water bottles and some other things that were in that area. Let me rephrase that were unknown where they were found. When Daniel told me about those items, he told me that those items, when they showed him pictures of it, they were all separate. So he doesn't know if they were found together, found separate, or any of those things. And in the RCMP documents, they kind of loosely mentioned some of those items as not being relevant. But if there's blood on it, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not confirmed yet. It looks suspicious to me. And you know what? When it was called into the RCMPs to come and look at it, they actually made it there in due time, I think 10, 15 minutes. Like they wanted their hands on it. So
okay, well, that's good. I'm glad. But what would have happened if Belinda and her team weren't there? They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't have got it because their first response, or please bring me home's first response, was to dismiss it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was interesting that, it wasn't handed in by other people on these searches, but, it could be valid. And I don't know why it wouldn't have been collected.
Yes.
That's interesting why it wouldn't have been collected so early on. Yeah, no, I don't understand why it wouldn't have been either if they took all the way till 3:00. That's wild. But,
yeah, it is. It's pretty sad. Like that's how much information has been lost in transition here. It's like, things that should have been said or done have not been. Instead, we've been worried about other things that are just obstructing it all. And it's getting tough. Like I would love to be able to ask Alvin, why he was on that road, or even talk to Jenna and find out, why she didn't report it. But Daniel's camp has been against me since day one, so I get nowhere with that. I'd love it if you could ask.
Yeah, no, I already, I am. Trust me. So if you send me the names, Alvin is one of them, right? You said Alvin? I'll ask right now. I don't know if I'll get an answer right now, but I'll ask.
And again, DT, totally love you, but what would make you think Daniel's honest and he's going to be honest? Like, I just blown away. Like, I don't know if the word suspect has left everybody's mind here, but like, they should be suspects at this point in this case and not treated like we're going to trust everything they say as the gospel truth. Sorry, DT. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Well, this is it, Joyful.
I sent out the question there. I know that I've talked to Janie and I've talked to Daniel, and both of them have said that they're kind of stepping away. Also, you know, they've been attacked a lot, and so you know, one of the things that they've been saying beforehand is that they've noticed that you know, Malaya does get attacked, but not as much as them, and they've realized it's because they talk so much to social media, and so they basically told me that they're stepping away because of that. And so we'll see if they respond to me. But that's interesting.
Okay, so they've told him they're stepping away because of social media. Well, that took him 6 months to figure that out. My God.
I was not aware of that. And so were you part of the recent search?
Yeah.
I have not been a part of the PBMH for about a month and a half, 2 months now.
Oh, okay.
I was signed from there actually earlier on in the case.
Gotcha.
I'm working actually under Daly & Thomas, the law firm.
Understood.
So
Understood.
yeah, so I've been looking into it all along. I usually try to keep a low profile, but I'm so tired of people missing such important, critical aspects of this case that I finally decided that, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah. What do you think about the boot prints?
I don't know. In my experience looking for missing people, I mean, a boot print around the place where they went missing, maybe, but a boot print that far away and just a boot print when it's 2 children, I don't know. I find that skeptical.
I honestly think the boot print was planted just as the blanket was. I truthfully starting to think the boot print was a plant just like the blanket. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts.
RCMP indicated there were a cluster of boot prints, 2 different sizes, both children. One of them matched the boots that were purchased by Malaya in March with the down to the size on the thread pattern of the boot print, saying 29. And that they also indicated that they believed it was out of the way for other kids to have been walking in that area.
Okay. That I would suggest maybe looking more into, but I wasn't aware of other boot prints that match their exact sizes. I was told that the bigger size of boot would have been way too big for Lilly. So I'll confirm that.
No, so the documents indicate that there was a 29, and in fact, they thought it was too small. So they went and spoke with Malaya, and Malaya said that Lilly wore a size 13, and it was at size 29, which correlated with size 11. And so they ended up going and getting Malaya's financial records, and they find a purchase of these boots in March. And so when they went and they compared the SKU number with the store, they were able to determine the boots, and they were the same boot pattern that had the number on the bottom. And what they found out was that Malaya had actually bought size 11 with the number 29 on the boot tread on the bottom end of it, which somewhat matched almost everything that's I'm hearing. And they said cluster. Now I know that there could
so is that Jack's boots then and not Lilly's?
Be a language barrier, you know, with Canada and United States, but a cluster to me kind of sounds like a group of you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like just one group of boot prints. It sounds like a group of boot prints. So like you might have a few boot prints here in mud, and then a dry spot, and then mud, and then another group of boot prints, and then dry spot and mud, and that's what creates the cluster of these boot prints. But that's just my interpretation of it. It could have been just one, but they do mention 2 sizes, 2 small sizes that children would wear, and one of them matched Lilly size down to the thread, the tread pattern also from the boot. So to me, I like, as much as like, you know, a lot of people want to look like towards Daniel or Malaya and what they were doing the night before, those boot prints kind of throw a wrench into that. And that's one of the main reasons why I believe that they wandered off more than anything is the boot prints. If those boot prints didn't exist, I'll be honest, I'd probably be more towards like, hey, they did something. But the fact is those boot prints do exist. And
but the canine weren't able to do anything with it.
Yeah, but canines aren't like.
Okay, but I don't know, DT. Oh my God, I think he's too involved with the family to be objective. But if did the RCMP not come out? We've got 5 more minutes left of this video, 8, but on fast speed 5, and then we're going to let you go to the other live streams. But if the police have come out and said, did they or did they not come out and say the blanket was planted? I think the police have come out and said in the unredacted documentation that they believe the blanket was planted. If the blanket was planted, why couldn't the boot prints have been planted? Just a thought.
Perfect either. And when did the canines go out there? The boot prints weren't found until the middle of the night. It rained overnight. You know, I think there's where they were at and where they were located, they could have gone much further away from there. You know, I think the other problem is too, is I think that the kids got out of that house around 9 a.m. You know, I don't think it was closer to 10. I think there was 9. And although search and rescue were at Eden Lake, not that far away.
I don't know. I can't listen to this much more because I find I respect him as a creator, but I find the fact that he is so bought into the family's Daniel Mainley's narrative, because that's all he talks to, blows me away. Like it blows me away. I just find as a true crimer, there's no objectivity
They
here.
didn't get
And I
called
don't
out till
like
after
that.
10:30 because that's when
I don't
RCMP
like
arrived,
it.
or local law enforcement arrived at about 10:27 a.m. So they're not calling out search and rescue until after that. Now, just because they get the call at 10:30 doesn't mean they're going to flash get there. They got to load up, pack up, set up, get out of there, show up, you know, figure out a game plan where they're going to go. And there's
I mean, Christy's nicer to him than I would have been. I'm just saying. Like, if I could talk to him, I just want to shake him. Like, shake your fucking head, dude. I'm sorry. But why in the God's earth are you taking Daniel's word for all of this? I don't effing get it. I don't get it. The guy has misspoken and changed his statements over and over and over and over again. But we're still going to believe his narrative? I don't effing get
a lot
it.
of a lot that goes on. And according to the dispatch documents, it don't sound like they were out there before 11 a.m. searching. And, you know, from 9 to 11, 2 hours, the boot prints were only 2.5 kilometers away. Well, in enough time for those 2 kids to get out there. Out here in Arizona, there was a 2-year-old that walked 7.5 miles overnight. Throughout one day and overnight was found the next morning when I guess a ranch dog ended up walking this 2-year-old about 2 miles to the ranch house. But he had already walked, I think, like 5 miles unattended through the desert.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and Jack, when he was 2 years old, he left the house.
Right.
And so he has, to me, you know, a little bit of a history there. He got into a junkyard, past the junkyard, into a schoolyard, and was fixing to go into the woods before school personnel stopped him. And so, you know, all those things kind of indicate to me that, yeah, that they wandered off. Now, if somebody wants to argue that, hey, Malaya should have been aware that her kid was willing to wander off and should have, you know, done something more, or Daniel should have done something more, he shouldn't have been doing drugs, and maybe he would have been more aware, and this, that, and the third, I can't argue with that one bit, not at all. But nefarious acts, I'm not certain about.
Right. So I'm wondering, going back to the boot prints, I must have been fed wrong information, which isn't, I guess I shouldn't even be surprised because I was given so much wrong information in the beginning. But anyways, besides that, was there any indications if there was quads or any type of vehicles anywhere near the boot prints? Like, is this something that could have happened from changing positions on the back of a quad, or like a cluster of boot prints? Like, could it be them dismounting and changing positions and then getting back on? Or is this them just clearly walking?
I would say that's them more walking. And the reason behind it is because of the investigation that they went into it.
Okay, DT, I can't listen to the rest of this. You guys can watch the rest of it. There's only a few minutes left. I think DT is way too biased to have any objectivity here. I'm sorry, DT. I've tried a few times to listen to you. I find you so close to Daniel, too close to remain objective. Too close to remain objective. And I'm just going to say, I was feeling the same way in my very, very brief interaction with Jason Eller, Dylan's father. And I'm not going to say anything else other than in my conversation with him, my eyebrows were raised and I had, how do I say this? I had a conversation for about an hour with Jason Eller. And one part of that conversation I've not talked to anybody about bewildered me to the point that I emailed Mike Wilson about it at the RCMP, okay? And then he was a no-show the next day. But I was believing his narrative completely, but he no-showed. He no-showed. And I reflected on the part where I asked him a question and I didn't like the answer. And it gave me pause. It gave me pause. It gave me pause. And then he didn't show the next day. So I think when you get too close to the family, your emotions override your objectivity, which is why I said I wasn't disappointed he didn't show up, because I'm not going to talk about it anymore because he defends. He absolutely is not objective. He's not objective one effing bit. And I'm sorry, this is not the Daniels case. This is Jack and Lilly, DT. And if you want to find those kids, I think you need to remove your subjectivity and your emotional attachment to Daniel being right. I don't understand how this man can defend Daniel, who's lied more times than I changed my fucking underwear in a year. It's uneffing believable. You know, and that's a daily thing, by the way, in case all of you were questioning it. Oh my God. Like, I don't get it. I'm trying to listen to you, DT, but I can't. I cannot listen to you. I find you might as well be related to them. You might as well be talking about your brother. It unnerves me. It really bothers me. And maybe that's what Jason was afraid of. Maybe Jason was afraid of the fact that I was going to ask him questions that he didn't like me asking him. I don't really know. But I can tell you one thing. When you're too close, I saw it happening to myself, and maybe that was the lesson that I was meant to have in that, where I wanted to believe the family that I was getting emotionally connected to, wanted to believe the family. And I think that's what's going on here. And I think it's a bad premise when you're investigating a case that you should attach yourself as a friend of any family member. In my opinion, they should be suspects in this case, and they should not be taken to be believable, factually correct in anything they have to say. Period, period, period. And that includes the RCMP taking their narrative that they walked out the door and therefore, please bring me home, finding items are not valid and don't need to be brought back in. Heck no, that is absolutely wrong. And that is not the way you're ever going to solve this case. Maybe, but I'm talking about in general. I've seen him over and over and over again defend Daniel. And I'm just saying in general, RCMP, DT, everybody investigating true crime, until those kids are found, those two parents should be the prime suspects. That's the house they were living in. And Janie was there too. They were the three adults present. They need to be investigated. Period. And how you can say they still walked out the door when you know cars were coming back and forth the night before. You've admitted to evidence being planted. You've got the stepfather who lies more times than Gandhi had followers. I don't understand why we are still giving the suspects, who should be suspects, the right to give and formulate the outcome of this case by saying something is relevant to the search, something isn't relevant to the search. It's a piece of crap. It's all a piece of crap. Okay, everybody, I'm going to be live tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. I'm going to let you go. Go watch Daphne's live. In fact, let me see if I can pull it up and put you there in the chat with Shenanigans, Shannon and Daphne. Oh, it's on Daphne's channel, on Shannon's channel. I'm sorry. Go watch it on here. We're going to share. We're going to share this. Hang on. Okay, everybody, I'm going to give you this. Okay, go join now. They're live. Go join now. Please tell them Liane sent you. I love Daphne. She does great work. I'm going to jump on and be in the chat in a minute. I just need to go get something to eat first. I'll see you there. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Love and light. Thank you for being here, everybody.